Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Eleven races down, 1 to go. This is Pony Express Sim Racing GT3 Challenge. Welcome in. This is Racers Nexus. I'm Rob Campbell in the booth with me, Stephen Kernick. Stephen, it's been a long trek here to get to the finale. We joined about midway through the season, but it's been non-stop action up to this point. We're going to wrap things up here with a 2-hour finale at Road Atlanta. Probably one of the best tracks to have a finale for a season. As you can see there, Road Atlanta, 2.52 miles, 12 turns, not very high above sea level. It just shouldn't affect the drivers a whole lot here. The turbo cars aren't going to have that advantage that they do at higher elevations, and 79-degree track temp, 26 degrees Celsius. But welcome in, Stephen.
Absolutely wonderful, lovely to be here, Rob. And as you said, the finale. Time to make it work, and also a circuit that is home to making legends. Well, this season, for season 2, we're gonna see it all happen and unfold right here at Road Atlanta, home to the Petite Le Mans. We have seen some back and forth battles, but now, with that being said, drivers have got 2 hours in the dark around a circuit that can be lots of fun, but as we know, it can be extremely punishing compared to what they've had all season. I think the closest of danger that they've had has been round 8 to what they now have to face for round 12 of Road Atlanta. Who is going to be able to outlive the competition is where the question comes in, as who is going to be able to really push as hard as they can to stay at the sharp end of the field.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, as you said. A little tricky situation. You're driving on Road Atlanta at night, and you throw the darkness in there. It adds that little bit of extra challenge, Steven. So, as we can see, our drivers are in qualifying. They got 4 laps within the 15 minutes that they can put in to set their best time. 2 hours of race. They are allowed 2 fast repairs in this 2 hours, so hopefully that should keep the field around a little bit longer here. If they do have an incident, they'll have plenty of time to regroup. It is a fixed setup race. 40% is the max amount of fuel allowed to carry in the fuel tank. At 20 points, they will get a drive-through penalty, then every 5 incident points after that. So for the 2 hour race here, Steven, that's something they're going to have to be a little wary of.
It's always a difficult one that the drivers are going to have to try and figure things out, but especially if you're fighting out for the championship, because at the moment, everyone's looking for just that little bit of pace, trying to find out what they can do. Paul Skip, currently top of the charts, looking to maximize the points for his championship, and will be not wanting to stay back and just keep an eye out on everyone. It's been fighting out in the GTD Pro for quite some time, lying 4th in the championship behind Ryan Tyler, Nick Tyrrell, and the leader of the championship, Terry Cargo Jr., holds on to the top of 3,070 points. Paul Skip, if he can get double points here tonight, can put himself onto the podium, but he's got to have to wait for the misfortune of Nick Tyrrell and Ryan Tyler to make work. Alex Valesco not completely out of it as well. Sean Adkins, Gerald Lowry, Wes Emmerich, unfortunately not here tonight, but is watching from the sidelines with all these friends. Jason Brothers, Jordan Branch, along with Matt Barber, Justin Lane, Nathan Westland, and Logan Draper, coming off the Majors 24, will not be racing here tonight, but will be tuning in from sidelines. But Rob, our GTD AM also looking incredibly tight in points.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, James Foreman coming in with a little bit of a commanding lead here, Stephen, but he hasn't quite wrapped it up. There is an opportunity for Joshua Susie to potentially take that top spot away. Brad McCombs not out of it too as well, only 40 points back of Joshua Susie, but the rest of the field just basically fighting for that 4th place position after that. But James Foreman, he's been basically a pillar all season here in the AM category. He knows what he needs to do here, Stephen. So I suspect we'll see him slowly try and work his way up through the back, as he is going to have to serve one of those end-of-line penalties for performance from last race.
And the Porsche has so far been one of the strongest contenders around Road Atlanta thus far. And this is coming right to the back of an iRacing update with the recent BOP that's going to be pulled in a little bit later on tonight. But that being said, I'm interested to find out what they're going to be able to do to save enough fuel to go that extra lap into this race. At the moment, only 14 cars have been able to put a time on the board, as we see Nick Tyrrell try and give it that extra little push. Holds on to 10th position at the moment. Troy Banks is still out on the track, and Kieran Maduro is the last of the drivers that's still out on the circuit trying to really improve his time. But up at the top has been a little bit of a change. Paul Skip, Ryan Tyler, Keith Roycroft managing to get a BMW up towards the sharp end of the field. Matt Barber, Alex Velasco, drivers have been really figuring out what can they do to push that little bit harder, to stay at the sharp end of the field, and where exactly will they be able to stay at the sharp end of the field.
As I'm having a look through the 14 cars who have set a lap here that don't have end-of-line penalties here, Stephen, we're seeing a lot of non-Porsche drivers up at the top. A lot of that has to do with a number of our end-of-line penalty drivers driving the Porsches, so we have to start from the back. But, you know, it's been a bit of a story this whole season with the Pony Express Sim Racing GT3 Challenge League, where, you know, we've seen a lot of drivers driving the Porsche. It really seems to be a favorable car in this league. But, you know, our lone Corvette right now is sitting on pole. And then I know you love seeing the Hondas / Acuras on track with our lone Acura sitting in 7th place as well, with Jonathan Cooper driving that one.
Absolutely wonderful to go and see the Acuras going and performing rather well and staying at the sharp end of the field. But you can only imagine the pressure that's going down to the wire here. I mean, for Nick Tyrrell, his championship is literally resting on what can he do to stay in front of the likes of Terry Cargo Jr. Also, if he can maximize the double points, and also relying on a bit of a negative result for the rest of his competition, so he can walk away with all that points that's desperately needed to stand for the fight for the GTD AM. He's been in a solid fight all season long, had a few bit of rough races, one can say, but when you are looking at the top of the pot, can't quite get Terry Cargo Jr. just as yet. But if there is a way that Terry Cargo Jr. doesn't land up finishing at all tonight, and Nick Tyrrell can maximize the points, stay in 1st place, Ryan Tyler to drop out of the top 5, it's possible, very possible, that Nick Tyrrell might be able to take the victory. But it's all coming down to just nitty-gritties into the championship. And with 2 hours around Road Atlanta, as we know, anything can happen. The darkness will go and play for its favorites Yeah, and it's whether you got Lady Luck in the pits joining you or whether you're going to be, unfortunately, on the back end of it. So far, though, 14 have entered. James Foreman, Terry Cargo Jr., Russell Abram, Renee Butter Jr., Ryan Stone, Jason Brothers, and Devin Lowry will be waiting out their opportunity and waiting for the race. 2 hours to fight back from the back of the pack to see if they can call themselves champion. And all the pressure falls right down onto Terry Calgo Jr. and James Foreman to perform. Otherwise, if they still not able to see the checker flag at the end of this race, that is their championship done and dusted right at the last.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Anything can happen in this 2 hours, Steven. Any of these drivers who think they might have a stranglehold on their position, you know what? They can't be too overly confident because they need to, as you like to say, you see the green flag, you need to see the checkered. So we'll see which one of our drivers deal with the adversity, because you know there's going to be some adversity at some point in time in this race for these drivers. But looks like our grid is set. Let's head on over to the grid and take a look how our drivers are going to start this finale.
That's it, and it's right to the front. Paul Skip in the Chev will be starting out. He's got Ryan Tyler chasing him down in second place. Looking at his second row, it's going to be Keith Roycraft and Matt Barber holding on to fourth place. Fifth is going to Alex Valesco with Adrian Fernandez in sixth. A little bit further down, it's the Acura of John Cooper and Troy Bates in the McLaren. Rounding out our top 10, it's Justin Togdegno and Kira Maduro holds on to 10th position.
In 11th, we're going to find Nick Terrell, one of our championship contenders. He'll have Joshua Susie to his outside. In row 7, Gerald Lowry and Steven Sharsley, the old 8-bit Mario paint scheme, which you love seeing week in, week out, Steven. Jason Brothers going to start in 15th with our championship leader, Terry Cowger Jr. in 16th. 17th place is going to go to Renee Badgett Jr. with Russell Abraham in 18th. And then rounding out our field here is going to be James Foreman, Ryan Stone, and then Devin Lowry. 21 cars set to hit the grid here tonight, Steven, for our 2-hour finale.
And this is where the racing changes from the entire season. Everyone has been pushing as hard as they can for the entire season. It's all about trying to maximize the pace for an hour's race. This time, however, it's all about trying to keep it going. It's trying to stretch out that tank, stretch out the tires. Are you going to change tires on your pit stop when you do have full tank? Or are you going to keep your old set of boots on, try and get an easier push out lap and stay at the sharp end of the field? I mean, these are the different factors that drivers are going to keep an eye out for. And unfortunately, Ryan Stone is going to be starting from pit lane as our safety car mine's out of the way. Paul Skip will take control of the lead with Ryan Tyler looking to try and get the jump as it's lights on, and unfortunately a black flag coming in for Foreman, but it is now a charge down to the wire as unfortunately it isn't the best run for Paul Skip. Ryan Tyler leads out the race. Matt Bobber up into second. Paul Skip down into third. Sliding down the order. Not having an easy time out there. Fernando Roycraft. Valesco. Banks. And Terry Calgo Jr. off at the back.
Our championship leader off early, Steven. Let's take a quick look at what happened to him. So heading into turn 2 up at the top of the hill. I wonder if it's just this solo spin. Oh, no, he had a little help from the 3. That was Jason Brothers to his inside. I think Terry, I thought there was a little more room there, tried to close over, but unfortunately Jason Brothers was there. But another point to mention, you said that Ryan Tyler got that huge jump. It looks like he got a black flag for that jump and went a little early.
Still on the power a little bit too early and now needs to try and figure it out as Paul Skip back on the charge with Matt Barber just ahead of him. The Mustang leads out, but it's going to be Chev down the left-hand side, under braking first time, trying to get it all sorted out. Unfortunately, not able to get it done. Matt leads out the charge, and he's going to be quite happy about it. This season, been sniffing out that front position, looking to be at first, hasn't been able to capture it for the last little while, but now finally gets to lead out the race for the first lap. Paul Skip keeps the pressure on the back of him, looking to try and fight his way through. Ryan Tyler holds on to third place, but take a look at Paul Skip. He's leaving nothing out to chance. He's fighting tooth and nail and managing just to get ahead of Matt. And now this has just brought Ryan Tyler back into contention.
I don't know if we can say it to stress it anymore to anybody watching at home, but that move by Paul Skip around the outside there, that's just a move you just don't see through that corner, Steven. So hats off to him. Well done, and well done for Matt Barber, giving them the room, realizing it's early on in the race. They still have plenty of time to battle, and for Barber to try and get itself back up into the sharp end of the field. You can see pretty much the entire field already in a single file line here, Steven, with Troy Banks leading the GT AM class up into 6th place. So he's up 2 spots. Nice quick start for him.
Sitting and fighting his way through, but he's got to be careful of Keith Roycroft going and tailing on in the BMW. Drivers needing to try and figure out, but this is where the race starts to switch, where you've got to try and put some of that adrenaline to one side, as we do see Ryan Tyler pulling into the pits to serve his drive through for jumping the start a little too early there. But your race switches gears completely. Instead of trying to push forward, you start looking at how you can try and get yourself back out, and also saving that bit of fuel. Ryan Stone now finally leaving pit lane. Little of a late start for him, but still back into the race, can cycle his way around and see what he can do. He's got an hour and 56 minutes. But for those drivers that are running line astern, now it's time to save a bit of fuel, lift off the gas a bit, and just let the slipstream pull you along. Try and protect those tires a little bit more, as well as if you can get one extra lap in this race. It is one extra lap that may be needed to move forward. But Jason Brothers, however, not having peak racing, dives off into the dirt with a bit of a slide, kept it out of the wall, but not exactly how he wanted his race to end.
Yeah, let's take a look at what happened to him. Looks like Nick Terrell was moving to the inside. Could there be a little contact here? There is. It's almost a carbon copy of what we saw happen between Brothers and Calgary Jr. Unfortunately for Jason Brothers, he was on the wrong end of it this time, so he's going to have to try and regroup his feet. Troy Banks trying to make a move back around Adrian Fernandez, who's just quickly got around him, moved himself up into 4th place. That's +2 positions for Fernandez early on. Now he's going to try and take away that 3rd spot from Alex Velasco, as they're both these cars capitalizing off that mistake from Brothers.
Can you believe it? Banks just really leaning into Fernandez there. That's just allowing Roycroft and Cooper, don't count him out in the Acura, constantly putting pressure on that BMW, looking for any opportunity to come on by. He has got the mid-engine, which is rather nimble compared to the BMW, picking up a little bit of natural understeer. But John Cooper around the outside, the Canadian not leaving anything to chance, trying to get it done and dusted. And right on the back of him is Charlesley, who's just trying to see where can he go. Stephen Charlesley out in the 8-bit Mario Kart, just follows through on Cooper, and now putting Roycroft in a bit of a nightmare situation, locked off to the inside line, not able to get the drive. Cooper cuts off the drive, and now Roycroft now sees the Porsche around him, couldn't get it under brakes, and will have to just wait out in his opportunity. Charlesley more than happy to just move up into 5th in class, and now just riding on the back of Cooper.
Yeah, rough set of corners there for Roycroft. He went from potentially trying to move up position, as we see Lowry, I believe, off track on the background. Hold your brakes, Gerald. Oh, man. The field scattering not to get into the back of that Mustang. Looks like Nick Terrell might have got wrapped up in something too as well. Saw him kicking some debris back up there, Stephen. But what I was saying is, oh, no, Lowry, that car is pooched. He can't even drive straight now, Stephen.
Oh, that unfortunately is a Mustang needing to go to the glue factory to get a bit of repair. They do have 2 fast repairs to try and keep them together, but it looks like he may have had it coming together with Nick Terrell. So coming out of the final corner, the Porsche up down the inside, and it's a shoulder tap yet again, getting involved in a little bit of a brawl. Gerald Lowry, a hard impact, managing just to stop the car, but that is him done and dusted. Take a look at this. Looked for the inside line, picked up a bit of understeer, and it just snapped into the back of the Mustang. Gerald Lowry not having any option but colliding with the wall. Nick Terrell also taking it to the front right suspension. That is not helping his chances in the championship as well. It's going and spiraling out of order. I mean, Nick Tyrrell's so far been 3 for 3 now every time it came to the shoulder taps. That's definitely not helping out his second place. It's going to play into the benefits of Ryan Tyler and Paul Skip, who can look to take over that second and third place away from Nick Tyrrell, forcing him in the final race out of the podium.
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit of Nick Tyrrell knowing he needs to get up to the sharp end of the field as quick as possible and hoping Terry Calgary Jr. gets mired in the traffic, but unfortunately it hasn't worked out for him. And we saw Tyrrell, all it took was that little bit of extra curbing, and as you said, Stephen, just kind of understeered him out into Lowry. Unfortunately, Lowry took the brunt of that one on the outside, but hopefully he was able to get it back around. He uses a quick repair, but having a look at timing and scoring, looks like he is still in the pits now, going on 1.5 minutes. So Gerald Lowry right now is going to be the what could have been for him, but we got a battle starting to shape up at the front as Matt Barber is falling back down into the clutches of Alex Velasco. Velasco making the move on the inside. Barber going to try to defend, but realizes he still has lots of time. He'll let Velasco go, see maybe he can tow the two of them up to Paul Skip, who's now opened up 2.3 seconds over this duo.
Still absolutely early days in it. Matt Barber just having a bit of fun out there. Keeps into the toe of Velasco. Now can just focus on protecting the tires a little bit as the Mustang does go and suffer from heavy degradation around the circuit. Will be trying to figure out, okay, what can I do? Save the tires, save a little bit of fuel, push on. They only can get up to about 40% of their fuel tank, which means it's going to be a couple of visits down pit road. And ultimately, if you can go and protect a little bit of fuel, running up very wide for both Velasco and Barbaro, just having that understeer. But take a look, no fear on both drivers. They kept their foot well in it, and you could just see on the bottom right of how much they are really leaning onto the throttle, how little they're actually using the brake, as Matt Barbaro is not looking to lose out any time to the Mercedes ahead of him, but he's got to be mindful that Fernandez is not completely out of the picture in that BMW, trying to pull himself along, seeing if he can stay in for the fight for the GT3 Pro category. Banks leads out the AM with Cooper right on his tail.
Calgary Jr. with the mechanical black flag. Sorry, Stephen, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but Terry Calgary Jr., our championship leader, mechanical black flag, meatball flag, and he is going slow. This could be exactly what Nick Tyrrell needed to try and take the championship. We'll have to see if we can find out what happened to Calgary Jr., but that's going to throw a wrench into this whole championship battle.
Well, with that being said, Nick Tyrrell's had problems. Terry Calgary Jr. has had problems. And the only one that's going to be more than happy on a solid fight here, Ryan Tyler, will be going and fighting his way through. Here's Terry Calgary Jr. What on earth happened to the Porsche? Did the Porsche snap? Oh, no, he ran into trouble. There was a Mustang in the middle of nowhere. That's Kieran Maduro, who unfortunately was stopped holding his brakes. Terry Calgary Jr. was just tunnel vision into the side of the car, smashing out. Here's Porsche. What happened to Maduro? Did the rear just step out underneath him, or did he fall into trouble? Oh, it was a Porsche, the 613, going and landing up in the middle of nowhere, and that caused the entire chain reaction. Oh my!
I think that was,
on earth are we seeing? That was.
I think that was Ryan Stone that was sitting in the middle of the track there. I think. Stephen, we'll see if we can catch a look there as Terry's been in to use his fast repair. Thankfully for him, he was able to get back around. But I want to see something. We'll go back to the replay here in a second. I think Terry was right up behind one of the McLarens. I'm not sure if it was Lowry. Yeah, it was Troy Banks was up a little farther. I think he was right in behind Lowry. I don't think he could see that car spinning. Lowry kind of ducked over to the right at the last second, and then I think Terry had nowhere to go. But let's see if we can get the onboard here from Terry Calgary Jr. to have a look at what he was seeing, and I don't think he saw a whole lot there, unfortunately.
I've got a sneaky suspicion if it's a 613, it might be Joshua Suxi. So yes, was following the 8 on the way through, and oof, just a solid impact. There was nothing he could do. And as you said, he was just watching at the back of that McLaren. It was a solid impact, but I do think the one that started that chain reaction was a 613. There it is, Joshua Suxi, one of our championship contenders in the GTD Am, unfortunately going and spinning out, lands up clipping the Mustang. That causes a spin. He's able to get going and instantly whack. There goes Terry Calgo Jr. and his chances for the championship starting to slip little by little for Joshua Suxi. He can be rather thankful for not picking up too much damage. He still is in the fight for second place, trying to get ahead of James Foreman for the lead of the championship. Brad McCombs, unfortunately, not having an easy time throughout the season, is on third place with Justin Togdegno holding on to fourth. But Joshua Suxi could have had a nightmare run on his part. Unfortunately, it looks like James Foreman not having an easy time. Road Atlanta is here to pick up car parts, and they're doing exactly that. What on earth happened to James Foreman? That is just a retirement, full stop. Went straight on and towed back to pits.
Yeah, I'm not sure if something happened before there or not, Steven, but it's coming up through turn 10A and B. Up over, and it looks like the car just doesn't want to turn right. It just goes off straight left. I'm not sure if maybe that was a hardware failure or what it was. I'm not seeing him flagged for anything early on, but our championship battle, we thought it was going to be pretty well done and dusted to start this one off, but you know what? We're not even an hour into this race, let alone 15 minutes into this race, Steven, and things have been turned upside down.
It's been manic thus far. Stephen Chelsea on a stellar drive. He's got Roycroft keeping a bit of pressure onto the back of him. Keith just focusing on his drive. He needs to catch up to Butter Jr. holding on to that 7th position overall. But for Stephen Chelsea, he's just watching his competition fall apart around him, knowing, okay, hold on, I've just got to keep the drive in. I've got to keep pushing, and I might have a chance to move up through the order. This is a Porsche that has had some positive runs, but also has had some really rough racing throughout the season. So Steven just needs to try and keep that momentum, keep his head in it, and will keep moving forward little by little. And right on the back of him, Keith Roycroft just following suit, not applying too much pressure. He's just also lifting off early, trying to protect some of the fuel, trying to not put too much strain on the tires. Paul Skip leads out the race, but it is Alex Velasco who holds the fastest lap time of the race in that Mercedes, up 3 places from where he started. But can we talk about two of our hardest chargers? Rene Butter Jr. in 7th, up 10 places, and Devin Lowry up 10 places since the start of this race.
Yeah, nice moves by both those drivers through the field. Lowry didn't qualify, started at the back. I'm not sure if he had an end-of-line penalty or he just chose to start at the back here tonight, Steven, but got himself up into 11th place right now, just ahead of Joshua Susie. But it looks like you can see Nick Terrell in behind him. Nick Terrell down a lap, so I'm not sure if something else happened to him afterwards, Steven, but that's allowed Terry Calgary Jr. to get back ahead of him. Even with that incident, Calgary Jr. was able to drive it back to the pits, use his fast repair, and although he is on the end of the tail lead lap, he is still on that lead lap.
It is a fight of note. Paul Skip and Alex Velasco, they're fighting out for first and second, currently 4th and 5th in the championship. And for our GTD Pro class, so they have completely turned things on its head. And just to hear that Terry Calco Jr., Nick Tyrrell, and Ryan Tyler all running into early stages of problems, they're more than happy to try and fight their way through. I mean, this is just a gift handed to them. It's double points here tonight by just staying at the sharp end of the field. It's not just your normal race. This is coming down to the wire of possibly capturing a podium right at the final race. This is where you calm the nerves down. If you got friends that can spot for you to give you a bit of an idea of what's happening, to try and work out some fueling, this is the race that you want to make it happen. This is what everyone's been eyeing out, and what better way to go and fight out for the championship in the final race, and also look for the final checker flag of the season for season 2 of 2026 here in the Pony Express GT3 Championship. Alex Velasco, though, is getting sick and tired of looking at the back of that Chev and is absolutely hunting down every opportunity to get on by. I mean, his last lap time was a 118.31. Paul Skip was a 118.5. He was slightly quicker than Paul Skip, but just can't get the nose of that Mercedes to get on by. And that's just allowing Barbara and Fernandez, who are closing up the time. Little by little, they're starting to see an opportunity here.
Yeah, we'll see if the trio of Barbara Fernandez and John Cooper can catch the top duo. It's one thing to catch the car ahead of you, Steven. As we see week in, week out, it's always another thing to try and get around them. You know, you can use that free, clean air to really catch up and suck up to the driver in behind you. But, you know, Road Atlanta, not a track that has a whole lot of overtaking opportunities. You got into turn 1, but you really need to make that setup through 10A, 10B, and through turn 11 as you make it through. As we see there, Velasco has made the move around Skip. Skip trying to fight back for top spot. They're going to take it up the hill into turn 2 and 3. I think Paul Skip thought better of that, realized there's still plenty of time, as again, we're not even at 20 minutes into this race of potentially running 90 laps or so. So it's still plenty of time for these drivers here, Steven. Cooler heads need to prevail. But speaking of which, if you're at home watching this exciting action we've seen so far into the first 18 minutes of this race, you want to get out there on track and have a little fun with these drivers, you can find the Discord link in the description of the video. They love to have you. It's free league to join. They do take donations to help cover the league fees, the setup costs for the sessions and for broadcasting, but otherwise it is free to join. Get out there on track, and you too could be here on Racers Nexus being broadcast.
That's going to be an absolutely great one, and Season 3 already has its schedule out for the drivers, and it's looking to be rather great. Not one to be missed out. Taking a look at our leaders, they're trying to make their way around the McLaren of Devin Lowry, who has been a little bit in and out through the pits, not having an easy time out there, just trying to keep it all together and push as hard as he can. But take a look at Adrian Fernandez out in the BMW, striking colors this time round, and he's hoping to utilize that little bit of pace onto the back of Matt Barbaro. Gonna hopefully go and utilize Devin Lowry as a little bit of a blockade, as it is going to be a tough time for Matt to try and get on by. Immediately, Adrian looking to try and sniff for any opportunity to come through as they battle down the hill. Not an easy time. Matt Barbaro losing out that little bit of drive, and here comes the BMW of Adrian Fernandez. A quick flash of the lights, just letting Devin Lowry know, listen, I'm coming by. Swings around the outside, not having an easy drive through, but it is going to be Lowry once again.
Cooper
sinks it in a bit deep, but unfortunately, the Acura into the wall.
Yeah, we can see that happen. Those drivers trying to push to get around the lap car of Lowry. Looks like Cooper touched the wall a little bit. Looks like the bumper came off. Netco gave it back to him, but he's going to lose a couple spots. It's Keith Roycroft now makes his way around. So see if that little Honda can move its way back up through the field. Unfortunate for that to happen. You know, you see that a little bit of opportunity with the car ahead of you that you're battling with, Steven, struggling to get through the lap traffic, and you see an opportunity. You really, you know, you want to get into that throttle as quick as you can, try and close that gap. And unfortunately for Jonathan Cooper, didn't quite have the traction he needed to power out of that corner.
Fortunately, 19th in the championship and not quite having what he wants to do, and just a tough time. Justin Togdigno, also one of our championship fighters, trying to move it up through the order. The Porsche snapping underneath him. He managed to catch it, but it was just absolutely all over the show. So Justin trying to get himself going. He's 4th in the AM championship. He's trying to catch up to Brad McCombs and also keep ahead of Stephen Maynor, who currently holds on to 5th. A top 3 is within reach, and when the Porsches start to snap around like that, you've got to ask yourself, what can you do to keep in the fight? What can you do to keep moving forward? And none of the drivers are wanting to utilize their fast repairs too early on into this race. So you've got 2 to play with, but you don't want to start trying to burn those off too early. Rather keep them till the end, maybe down to the final pit stop. Utilize that fast repair to pick up any sort out any minor damage you might have picked up for the aero. But I want to also check in another factor as we see Matt Barbaro coming into the pits, and we do see Fernandez down into pit lane. Who has got enough to run that extra lap? And what is going to happen? Alex Velasco, Paul Skip, Troy Banks, they've managed to continue on forward. The rest of the field all starting to come down pit lane.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the pit strategy, Stephen, is normally these drivers run a 1 hour race, and we usually see a minimum of 2 stops. So with doubling the length of the race, I wonder if anybody's going to try and save a little bit of fuel here to maybe try and do it on a 3-stop race here to try and maybe get that advantage. They're going to have to put in a ton of fuel saving here, but it looks like the middle of the field is coming in to complete their stops as Fernandez, Barber, Roycroft, Charsley, and Badger Jr. have all come in. We're still waiting our first stops from our top 5 still on track. That's Velasco, Skip, Banks, Abraham, and Susie. But once they come in, that will complete the fuel cycle for the first round of stops here, and it looks like it's going to be about 25 minutes or so to potentially end that fuel cycle. So it doesn't look like right now any of our drivers going to be able to push it to about 30 minutes here, which could have put it at about a 3-stop race. So potentially you're going to see 3 stops and maybe a little splash for fuel at the end.
It's going to be a tough one. I do think many of the drivers are going to be considering the options of rather keep on the old set of rubber just so you have a harder push lap towards the end. Just try and run it out. It is a little bit chilly out there, and if the tires are still feeling good, if you're sitting at roughly about 80% on tire life, is it worth going and putting on a new set of tires and finding out that extra 2 to 3 seconds of loss of time trying to warm them up? You can already see it's 74 degrees Fahrenheit at 77 degrees Fahrenheit for the track, which is not bad. Your tire life and tire degradation shouldn't be too bad for a double stint. A triple stint may be a little bit of a tough one. But Alex Velasco now takes over the lead of the race once again. Paul Skip moves up to second. Adrian Fernandez up into third, followed by Matt Barber, Troy Banks, who currently leads out the AM. He's 5th overall. Ryan Tyler sits into 6th place. Renee Butter Jr., Keith Roycroft, all moving forward, but it is going to be Stephen Charsley under pressure at the moment from Jonathan Cooper, as they do see Russell Abram coming out of the pits, not able to take the fight, rather keeps to the right hand side. And now the 46, the Sky Lounge sponsored car, has to just keep a solid run. Russell Abram, also a driver that throughout the season has been fighting out towards the sharp end in the field, hasn't quite had the luck during the season. From Adelaide all the way straight through to Road Atlanta, he's been just about at the front. He's had a few little moments here and there, and it lies 8th in the championship behind Daniel Bonnet and trying to keep ahead of Devin Lowry in that championship fight in the GTD AM.
As we see the battle here between Charsley and Cooper. Cooper trying to make the move to the outside. He's on the recovery run from that spin we saw earlier. Looks like he's going to get this pass complete on Charsley as the inside line. It's one of those corners, Stephen, where you can give up the pass into turn 10A, which would set you up for the nice switchback into 10B. It looks like Charsley trying to do that here now as they head through turn 12. He's got the inside line. There it is. He's going to take that spot back from John Cooper. So nice little bit of door-to-door battling between the Acura and the Porsche there, between those two drivers. A lot of space given, a lot of respect given, and that's what we love to see.
That's what the Pony Express has been about, just respect between drivers. It has been hard racing all season, everyone trying to just see it through to the end, try and see if they can get a solid push, but at the same time, you don't want to go ramming into the side of one another. You want to end off on a high. You don't want to go and see the cars falling apart. But the question that I want to bring up, because Rob, you and I have done plenty of laps around Road Atlanta, and I think we can both say we've utilized the guide rails that are on the left and the right to see where the rest of the circuit is. But Road Atlanta is also one of these circuits that you can pick up incident points very, very, very quickly. And they can only have up to 25 before they get the first drive through. And then every 5 after that lands up with another set of drive-throughs coming into play. How many drivers have flirted on that limit that are waiting to go and really see what they can do and also land up with a bit of a problem?
Yeah, it's going to be one of those strategies. Ooh, as we see Fernandez make the move to the inside of Velasco. A little bit of bumping and banging there, but that's allowed Matt Barber to get up into that battle. So we got 3 cars battling out for top spot. Troy Banks not too far back either, our GT AM leader. But yeah, as you mentioned, Stephen, Road Atlanta can be vicious for off track, especially the turn 2 to about turn 6 section. It doesn't take a whole lot to go off track there, and those rack up pretty quick, especially when you're talking about a potentially 80 lap race here.
Well, for every contact it's 4, every slide it's 2, and every off track is 1. You got 20 to play with, and then every 5 after that can go and switch out the championship. Matt Barbaro, more than happy to stay in for the fight. Usually a major campaigner in oval racing, dirt oval, going and having a bit of fun. Now trying to see what he can do in the world of sim racing. 3rd place in class at the moment as we head on to lap 21, trying to see if he can push that Mustang a little bit closer to Alex Velasco, who's keeping Fernandez rather busy, looking in each of the mirrors and trying to see what he can do. And I've got a little bit of listening to the comms as Rene Butter Jr. going and saying, unfortunately, he's running into difficulty, starting to have computer freezes, and it's knocking him off a little bit at the same time. So he's unsure what's going on. He's going to take it a little bit easier until the team can find out what exactly is going on with the car. And this might be the moment where it actually froze up on him, and he just was guessing where he was driving around the circuit. Oof. And oh man, that could have ended badly, and it did end badly, hard into the wall.
Yeah, I thought he was going to save it that first venture off track, Steven, and then he just came due left across the track and heavy into that wall, the same wall we see Gerald Lowry get into earlier. So he's definitely going to have a steering issue and a little bit of aerodynamic issue, and basically be a victim here to Jonathan Cooper and Steven Charsley are coming up on him real quick.
John Cooper trying to make up some time, especially after his incident early on. Butter Jr. going to be facing a lot of understeer in the Camel GT colors, hoping that the Porsche stays out. But that would force Butter Jr. down into 7th, and it means that within the top 6, if Jonathan Cooper can get past, the top 6 have no Porsches in it, which will be the first time this season that we would reach nearly, we're getting towards the halfway point, and not a single Porsche was in the top 6. I mean, that would be a bit of a wild moment that we've seen the entire season, where everything has been, the Porsche is the strongest car. It's had the strongest fixed setup, but now just not having its luck around Road Atlanta, as we do see Rene Butter Jr. runs out wide, can't really fight it out. Jonathan Cooper says thank you very much. And for the first time this season, top 6, no Porsches that are leading out the race. It is all down from 7th right the way to 10th. That is our first set of Porsches before we can get anywhere. And if you go and take a look, Paul Skip, who was originally leading out the race, is trying to pull himself back from 11th position.
Yeah, it looks like Paul came back into the pits for a second stop here on lap 19, so I'm not sure if maybe he had some kind of technical issue, maybe didn't quite get all the tires changed, if he went for a tire change or not, but he's fallen back here a little bit. We'll see if he can claw his way back up through. As you know, Terry Calgary Jr., I pretty much wrote him off whenever he had that incident early on here, Steven, but he's just been plugging away. He was able to use that advantage with the fast repair for where his incident was. He was able to drive it back halfway around the track to stay on the lead lap, and he's now working his way back up through the field, where Nick Terrell, he's got himself back on the lead lap, but he's suffered a number of incidents here too as well, but hasn't had the same recovery luck here that we've seen with Terry Calgary Jr. So Nick Terrell going to have to hope for, he's coming into the pits here again. Could try and get another stop done here early, see if maybe get some fresh tires and try and mount a charge back towards Terry Calgary.
Possibly a short stop just to get it done and dusted. They will have to have a short stop in the race. So what better way to do it? Towards the end, or just get it in the middle and focus on running on a full tank, as Alex Velasco really gave Fernandez a run for his money down into the final corner. Fernandez eventually backed out of it, but that has allowed Barbaro to get right into the back of him, the Mustang, chasing down the BMW, seeing what he can do. And Matt is on a solid run right now. He wants to see at that second place, trying to look around, fishing for any opportunity to get on by, while Velasco, it just I mean, take a look at the gap. Since the final corner, he has opened up 1.2 seconds over Fernandez and Barbaro. He's absolutely checked out of the fight for now, but with the likes of Fernandez and Barbaro going and taking liberty to just run over the circuit, run out that little bit wide, they're losing a little bit of time, and slowly but surely that's bringing the McLaren in the background to close up the gap. Troy Banks leading out the GTD AM class. Slowly but surely, it's just been knocking on the door, looking to try and get into the top 3 overall. What a drive it would be from his part to go and stare at a podium overall, plus go and win out your class. He's got 6 seconds away from Roycroft. That is no problem. Cooper's no threat to him. So all that he needs to do is just keep hitting his marks.
Yeah, just kind of keep an eye on the battle up ahead to make sure if something happens, he doesn't get collected up into it, Stephen. But yeah, he's well ahead of Roycroft. Taking, let's sort our drivers per class there, although their points are awarded in their overall position. But there you see how it's stacking up in GTD Pro and GTD AM. Troy Banks, nice comfortable lead over Roycroft, who has a comfortable lead over Cooper as well. But the battle right now is for the top 3 positions, and that is in the GTD Pro.
Absolutely incredible stuff, and the drivers still have plenty of racing to go. 1 hour and 26 minutes of racing, and this is when you start to try and figure out what your race is going to feel like. But also, these drivers are going to be starting to feel that wear and tear. They're going to be starting to feel, okay, hold on, we're going a little bit long here. We're starting to run that a little bit longer in the race. For those that are running higher 4-speed feedback steerings and also load cell pedals, they start to feel the wear and tear on the body. This is what I tend to love, is talking about the human element when it comes to driving. You've got the mental concentration. You're looking at the screens, whether in VR, triple, single screen. Your eyes are starting to get very, very tired. For a majority of these drivers, it is night. You have spent the whole day awake. You've been at work. Now it's nighttime. You're starting to get dry eyes. You're starting to get tired. You're also mentally starting to get quite fatigued out there. Critical mistakes. You're starting to late brake a little bit. You're guessing your options. You're trying to push a little too hard. But also load cell pedals. Some running 200 kilogram load cells where you need 200 kilograms to bottom out that pedal. You start to apply more and more force, and you start to feel it in your thighs, in your calves. You start to feel the muscles working that little bit harder. Lactic acid starts to build up. Maybe that cramp in the left legs starts to build up. That little bit of an air gap in the seat that you're not quite comfortable with. That lower back pain, you start to see it there. A little bit uncomfortable when you're sitting on your tailbone, and even right down to your arms, going and feeling that lactic acid starting to build up. Pain in the wrists, a little bit in the shoulders, your neck. You start to even think about what's around you. The human element in sim racing gets forgotten about, but is such a crucial factor of whether you can go. It's its own way of, you have to be sim fit to fight it out as hard as possible in a 2-hour race. It's not an easy thing to do. And it's not just like jump behind the steering wheel and see what happens. This is a lot of practice, a lot of mental prep and physical prep to get it right.
Yeah, it's
and that's the end of my lecture.
The endurance racing takes a bit of an art form, as you pretty much spelled out there, Stephen. So it's it's a lot of fun. This is a track that sees endurance racing towards the end of the season, the 10 hours of Petit Le Mans. So a lot of good practice here for those drivers who are potentially eyeballing that at the end of the season. There is always some night racing in the Petit Le Mans. It starts midway through the day and wraps up at the evening hours. So good practice for those drivers. And speaking of endurance racing, I think we got the 6 hours of Watkins Glen coming up in a week or two as well.
Yep, and a lot of the drivers have been practicing that as well, trying to see what they can do, but also trying to get their practice in for season 3, because there is a very short gap between this race and the start of season 3. as well. So the drivers have really been balancing their time. I know a couple of the drivers racing here tonight just coming off a 24-hour endurance race this past weekend, trying to really fight their way to the top in a variety of different classes. So they have managed to wear themselves out during the course of the race. I do want to point out we've had one retirement out of the race, unfortunately, and that's going to be Ryan Stone. So Ryan Stone, unfortunately, out due to technical difficulty, and I've just gotten word of what happened at the beginning of the race. Due to technical difficulties in his VR headset, threw him out of the running, had to retire the car, hasn't been able to put the VR back into full use, and will be sitting on the sidelines watching the racing, and not the way that he wanted to see the championship go and swing out. I mean, for Ryan Stone, he hasn't been fighting out for the top 5, but you always want to try and see the end. You always want to try and push yourself out a little bit more and see where you can come out. Unfortunately, just not his time here at Road Atlanta.
Yeah, it'll give him time to regroup and get ready for next season. But as we see Russell Abraham make the move around Steven Charles, that's going to move Abraham up into 4th place in class, 7th overall. He has his good buddy John Cooper 5 seconds up the track. So see if these two Porsches can work together and close that gap on our lone NSX in the field. But it looks like a Charles not ready just to give up that position. But speaking of VR, Steven, it's something that I tried to use a couple times in the past. I have a buddy of mine that had a VR headset that he wasn't using, that he gave me to take and try, and I could never, no matter what I tried to do, get myself to be able to feel comfortable with it. I had fans blowing on me. I tried setting up the lenses the best I could. It turns out that maybe my eyes were just either too close or too wide for the range of that headset, and I could never really feel comfortable to it. So I could just imagine how frustrating that must have been for Ryan Stone to have those VR issues. It takes him out of this race, and unfortunately not much he can do at that point in time.
Unfortunately, when it all starts to fall apart in VR, it's low frame rate. You start looking at a slideshow, and it can cause a little bit of nausea to kick in. For those that are able to get VR up and going, personally, I love it to pieces. Just having that depth perception really makes a world of difference. But also, it does make things rather difficult when you're racing in a night race like this, because those headlights become more and more of a factor than you actually think, compared to having the three screens or a single screen or an ultra wide around you, because it gets you looking around the cockpit. It gets you trying to see what's happening out there. And a lot of drivers at the moment just trying to factor in what they can do, how much realism you can bring into the world of sim racing, and the variety of setups that we've seen from the Pony Express sim racing is not just your high-end rigs. We've got drivers that have gone and bolted their steerings to their desks and just seeing it through. So if you are considering of getting into the world of sim racing, it's not about having the best of the best gear. It's not about having the super high-end gear. Getting some of the basics, coming out and racing, getting out on circuit, it can be an absolute huge amount of fun to just go at door to door. And with the drivers, they've been giving a little bit of advice as well in the pit lane of what they can do to try and help out Ryan Stone. Those are the drivers that are not here racing tonight, trying to will Ryan back into the race and saying, listen, how can we help? What can we do? Explain to us the issue. As we see Justin Togdano, who is now into pit lane, trying to get him sorted out, and he's fighting fourth currently in the champion for the GTD. And Brad McCombs, who's not here tonight, is at the moment running 70 points ahead of him. So Justin, by finishing up towards the sharp end of the field, if he can maximize at least 71 points, he would capture the bronze for the GTD AM for season 2 of 2026.
I think Tardogno had another incident here, Steven. That's why he wound up in the pits. Almost a carbon copy where we saw him go off earlier on, and this time, unfortunately, he wasn't able to keep it off the wall. Hard hit on that left side wall, and that's going to pretty much be it for him for a little bit. He's going to need to utilize a tow, which You know what, it may not be a long track here at Road Atlanta, but that couple minutes of tow time is going to be critical here this evening.
And utilizing that fast repair as well. Drivers have got 2 of them to play with, and it seems like a good number of drivers have already started to burn through them right through this race. They're starting to see what they're doing. I mean, this is turning into a race of nutrition. This is who can see it through to the end, and we haven't even gotten to the first hour completed. Drivers already on the radios chatting to one another, trying to keep out of any problems and also assisting passes. Everyone wanting to see it through to the end, as we do have Jonathan Cooper pulling into the pits from the top 5. The Acura not running as long as the rest of the field. He's going for a bit of a shorter run this time round. See what he can do.
Yeah, we'll see how that strategy plays out for Jonathan Cooper as the race goes on. But Paul Skip, the driver that I mentioned early on, came back in for another quick stop not long after his first one. Slowly working his way back up through the field here. Steven got himself back up into 7th, but he was starting on that front row, so still plenty of time for him to get himself back up into that position, but probably had visions of a much better result at this point in time, as it looks like, I don't know if he's had a little bit of damage there, but seeing a lot of sparks flying off that right front corner of that Corvette.
Not quite what he's having. Keith Roycroft pulling into the pits and just informing Nick Turles, hey, saying, listen, I'm coming into the pits just to give you a bit of a heads up. Don't get caught out in the run. At the moment, though, taking a look, Ryan Stone not having an easy time. Justin Togdegno, Troy Banks, and Devin Lowry are the number of cars that are out of the race thus far, and still trying to pick up the pieces of their race. Barbara and Roycroft into the pits, while Velasco and Fernandez going to run a little bit longer. The Merc of Velasco has been one of our longer runners in this race, not having too much of a problem, and he's able to save that little bit more fuel over the field. Alex Velasco, despite putting in a solid lap time, lap after lap after lap, has just been able to stretch that tank that little bit longer.
Yeah, he just seems to have the right amount of pressure on that right foot, Steven, to save a little bit of fuel, which, you know, if things continue on the way they go. Drivers came in roughly with about 25 minutes into the race, and then we're seeing them come in again around the 1 hour 15 minutes to go. So they're definitely going to need to make at least 3 stops. It'll be interesting to see who's been able to save a little bit of fuel after that 3rd stop, Steven, to just have that splash. That's going to be the critical point. If you can come in and maybe only take maybe 5 seconds of fuel versus the car you're chasing having to take 8 or 9 or 10 seconds worth of fuel, it'll be amazing how quickly the track gap closes in that situation. You see Matt Barber making his way around the lap car of James Foreman.
James, who is currently fighting out for the championship in the GTD. But if you're just joining us, a massive welcome to you all to the Pony Express GT3 Championship. This is the final round of the championship for Season 2. It is a 2-hour GT3 race around the beautiful circuit of Road Atlanta for double points, and is the race to go and fight it out. It's a night race. It is a long one, and with everyone trying to fight out for the points at the moment. Terry Calgo Jr. leads out the GTD Pro in points, but he hasn't had the easiest of time, along with Nick Turrell, who's had a bit of a nightmare run. Ryan Tyler, though, has been one of the hard chargers. He's 3rd in the championship, lying 4th in the race thus far, right behind Paul Skip, who lies 4th in the championship. Alex Velasco, who's 1st overall right now, currently holds 5th in the championship for our GTD. Then looking at our GTD AM, it's James Foreman who leads out the championship. He hasn't also had the easiest of time out on the track, along with Joshua Suxi, who holds on to 2nd in the championship. Brad McCombs not here. Justin Togdegno, we saw him hit the wall a little bit earlier. He's not having an easy time. This is a race to go and fight out. If you're looking to maximize the points, if you've had a season to forget, well, double points here at Road Atlanta definitely going to make it work. And Alex Velasco, though, got to say, is one driver that can push himself into the top 3 if he gets a victory here tonight, if he can get ahead of Paul Skip, if he can keep ahead of Nick Tyrrell, if he can stay towards the sharp end of the field, Alex Velasco on the final race will look at getting a third place here tonight, but he has to ensure that Ryan Tyler, who's currently 6th overall, is further down the order. He is relying on the rest of the field to just go and help him out here.
Yeah, we see Ryan Tyler come in to have his second service done. So he's going to be changing some tires, get the car up on the jack stands as Russell Abraham is done down and away. There comes Jonathan Cooper. He's going to make the pass around the outside, take that spot from Russell Abraham. But Paul Skip, we know we need to see him come in for his, what's going to be his third stop, but realistically it'd be his second stop here. Last time in was lap 19 for him, Steven. So we'll see how quickly Paul Skip comes in. He's on a little bit of a different fuel strategy than the rest of the field so far. So it may be the big brain, galaxy brain move here for Paul Skip, and looks like he's going to answer back and come in this time by. So that should give Velasco back the lead. It's just a matter of how close Skip comes out. I think he's going to cycle in somewhere in around Terry Calker Jr., Rene Badger Jr., if my prediction is correct.
He was listening into the live stream and said, "Oh, hold on. They're talking about me. I'm going to pull into the pits and watch this. Hold my drink." Well, Fernandez now trying to shuffle on forward, really takes the fight to Alex Velasco side by side as they come down the hill. But Fernandez really showing he's not afraid to keep his foot in it the whole way through. What a drive coming in from Fernandez to keep his foot planted the whole way through, comfortable with the car. Alex Velasco, who I do think is a little bit on cold tires. As you can see, the gap has opened up quite a bit. He's trying to generate some heat into the tires. Fernandez, who's a lot warmer, more than happy to keep a solid go, and already a 2.3 second gap is a telling sign of how they're going. Matt Barbaro still holds on to third place. He's 5 seconds back in that Mustang, can still see the guys up front, and right behind him is a couple of blue flags. But when we talk about blue flags, that is our championship leader for the GTD AMP, James Foreman, who is sitting in between this little bit of a fight as Roycroft leads out the GTD AMP, and he's going to be more than happy. He's seeing James Foreman, who's down in 16th, in front of him, in the front windscreen, going and saying, right, I have a chance here. And what a way to get it done. James Foreman in the Halloween colors for the Rexy, and has been campaigning that car the whole time. It's absolutely wonderful to see him going and really fighting out. And this season, we have seen some drivers switching up their liveries, trying to be a little bit different. James Foreman, on the other hand, is looking to get the skeleton colors of Rexy towards the top and have a solid run. It wasn't successful in real life in the Halloween colors, but it's going to be James Foreman pushing to make it happen once again. Roycroft, who is 15th in the championship, leads out the GTD AMP. Butter Jr., who is 6th in the championship, lies in second place of the GTD AMP. And Cooper, trying to pull his way from the back, lies in 7th position, 3rd in class, but in the championship is nowhere in towards the top 10. He's just trying to have a ton of fun out there in the Acura. The only Acura that's racing, but it was part of two. Brad McCombs, who's not here tonight, was the second of those Acuras.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we could have had two Acuras on track together here, Steven. Something we haven't seen much the last season or two since iRacing adjusted the BOP. It'd be interesting to see what they do with the BOP for next season, which kicks off tomorrow. The iRacing update will kick off tomorrow here on the North American side of things. I think it's roughly about 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. The system will go down. We'll get the new updates, which is going to be a what I'm looking forward to, Steven, is the new San Diego street course that NASCAR and iRacing themselves actually work together on designing and forming. I'm always a big fan of the street circuit, so I'm really looking forward to that one. And then, of course, the updates to the BMW LMDH GTP car and the updated BMW M2. I think it's a nice update, especially the interior with the updated dash in that car, and hopefully it drives a little better than the old one.
Just wish they can fix the soundtrack. But talking about what's to come next season will be the Pony Express GT3 Challenge Season 3, and that's going to kick off on the 22nd of June. First race is going to be at Daytona International, followed by Algarve International. Then we'll have a week off on the 6th of July. For the 13th, we head out to Spa-Francorchamps. Absolutely awesome to see there. Mugello follows on the 20th. Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course on the 27th of July. Long Beach, Fuji Speedway, Hockenheimring, Virginia International, and ending things off at Indianapolis Motor Speedway for a 2-hour final. I mean, that's just taking a look at what the season right here at the Pony Express is going to be like, and you can join in with the race. You can be a part of the league. Down in the description there is a link to go and be a part of it. I've got to say I'm really looking forward to it, and also we have to say a massive welcome to the new sponsor jumping on board, J. Cooper electrical contractor, that will be sponsoring out that season here at the Pony Express GT3 Challenge.
Yeah, that's this man right here, John Cooper Electric, being one of the main sponsors for next season. So thank you to him. No doubt that's going to put a little extra emphasis on him to try and do well, Steven. Anytime you kind of sponsor something and you're involved in it, you always want to try and put your best foot forward. But speaking of best foot forward here, Nick Terrell, who, up and down season for him, as you mentioned off the top, Steven, a couple races didn't quite go his way. One of those races was the beginning of tonight's race, but he's now putting a ton of pressure on Steven Charsley. That's the battle for 10th overall. It's also a battle in class for 7th and 8th position for them as Terrell looks to the inside. I think he's going to get this move done on Charsley into turn 1080 in B, but we saw Charsley fight back when he was going door to door with Jonathan Cooper. This time, not going to have the same fate, as Nick Terrell going to take that spot away and now set his sights on Ryan Tyler up ahead.
And it looks like a bit of a pit stop coming in for Nick Terrell as Ryan Tyler carries on. The AMG not being caught out. Terrell taking the gambit here, seeing if he can get a pit stop done and dusted. Remember, they can only put 40% fuel into these cars, so it's going to be short runs all the way through. And for Ryan Tyler, he wants to finish ahead of Nick Terrell. There's 160 points separating Ryan Tyler and Nick Terrell for that second place. Paul Skip is 40 points behind Ryan Tyler. So if Paul Skip can keep his foot in it and can finish within the top 3, well, Ryan Tyler finishes out of the top 5. Paul Skip can take over third in the championship. He can literally come down to the wire and rob Ryan Tyler of a podium spot right at the end. I mean, this is how close the race has come. This is how close the drivers are to the end of it. And when you start putting in double points, you start to put in longer races, this is where the pressure ramps up for every single driver. This is where you start to try and play the big brain. You start to think about what you can do. And also, you start to pick out the drivers of who you need to finish ahead of, and start to make some friends out on the track that can possibly help you out in this race. And listening to the radio comms, there's lots and lots of chatter, everyone trying to help each other out not to run into the back of one another, informing when they're going into the pits. But I'm waiting for the time where the comms go quiet, or if someone's going to say, I'm looking at pit lane, but doesn't dive for it, baiting a move to see if they can just one-up the competition. It's coming. It's really coming, that's for certain.
Yeah, the gamesmanship will be afoot here, Steven, as we get closer to the end of the race. But this battle for top spot just doesn't want to seem to go away here. Fernandez and Velasco, they've kind of jockeyed around a couple times here, but surprisingly, all that battling that they've done hasn't really allowed Matt Barber to catch up. I'm wondering if maybe he's just saving fuel here, or he just doesn't quite have the pace in that Mustang that the Mercedes and the BMW have, as he's fallen back now about 6.7 seconds back of that top duo. Keith Roycroft actually starting to reel in Barber, our top AM driver right now, as Terry Calgary Jr. not too far back of him. Again, Calgary Jr. trying to make the best he can here to get himself that championship locked up, as Velasco now again has made the move past Fernandez as they go door to door. They're going to drag down the back straight here, Steven.
Absolutely great stuff, door to door. Who's got the power between them? It is going to be 6 cylinders versus 8 cylinders, turbocharged versus the naturally aspirated, but it's going to be Alex Velasco under brakes to get the advantage through the right-hander. Fernandez tries his luck, forced to the outside, but not completely out of the running yet. Through the final corner, trying to put his nose forward. Nick Tyrrell sees these two brawling out. He's looking just to try and get a lap back, but the fight for the lead is absolutely great between the two German manufacturers, Mercedes and BMW. Velasco, who's looking to hold on, but Fernandez hunting down every opportunity, closing right up to the back of the car, looking towards the gearbox that's located at the back of that Mercedes, believe it or not, and trying to see if he can get on by 0.2 of a second. And these drivers have been brawling it out. In the next 2 minutes would be a full hour that they have been keeping each other busy. And you've got to wonder, when do they sit back and say, what do I need to do to stay at the sharp end? What do I need to do to really fight it out? But I do think Fernandez might go and allow Nick Tyrrell to get on by and utilize him as a wrecking ball to try and get past Velasco.
Yeah, you know what, as Nick Tyrrell probably on one hand loving seeing those two-car battle. It's always fun when you're following a couple cars that are just battling on track, especially when you're not involved in that battle. But he himself is in the championship battle for the pro side of things, but he's been putting down a couple of hot laps here in a row. The last number of laps, he's clicked off some fastest laps of the race. Currently holding the fastest lap of the race is Nick Tyrrell, so he would love to watch this battle, but he'd also love to try and get around these guys and get himself back on that lead pack. So if something were to happen with Terry Calgary Jr., who's in the pits now, maybe Nick Tyrrell could close that gap and potentially still have a shot at the championship.
It's all to play for double points. It's all to go and fight out, as the drivers have to really think outside the box here. Terry Calgary Jr. not having the easiest race. We've so far seen him throughout the season as one of our hard chargers up at the front. Not often do we see him going and sitting outside of the top 5. Now it seems that the Porsches are having a little bit of a difficult time. Velasco, though, continues to open up a little bit more room as Fernandez trying to drag race and see if he can get ahead as Nick Tyrrell tries down the inside. He sends it through. Fernandez had to open the door, but Nick Tyrrell now clears on pass, and let's see if it's going to help out Fernandez or if it's going to be a hindrance. But for Velasco, he's got to take notes. There's a blue flag behind him. If he allows that Porsche through, he needs to slam the door shut as hard as possible to stop the likes of Fernandez from marching his way on past as well. I mean, this is always a difficult part where you do want to be the nice guy and say, right, get around me, it's fine, I don't mind, you're not in my race. But the moment you do that, the moment you leave that door slightly open, well, it's going to be Adrian Fernandez who's going to put his entire foot forward and go and say, listen, I'm here for the party as well, and I'm here for that first place.
Absolutely, you've nailed that one, Steven. But to mention, well, we saw that battle last time we talked with this guy, Matt Barber. I mentioned he was sitting back about 6 seconds back of that top battle for top spot here, Steven. Well, they've jockeyed around with Nick Tyrrell. He's managed to close that gap in about half here. Now only about 3.8 seconds between he and Fernandez, and then Velasco about 5 seconds up ahead. So still a little bit of work to do here for Matt Barber to get back up in the battle, but he's still got plenty of time as we've now just passed the halfway point. So only halfway through this race, Steven, still plenty to unfold. If the second half of this race is as exciting as this one started off, we're in for a credible finish.
And drivers having to really think outside the box. We're already listening onto the radio comms, drivers asking each other, how's the tires feeling? going and trying to figure out if they're going to have enough life in those tires to push a little bit longer. There is considerations of going and changing things out. Can they really double stint? How hard can they push that little bit more? And also just trying to work around one another. It's amazing to hear the friendship in a race of, hey, listen, keep going, we got you, I'm keeping an eye on you, just trying to will each other on, trying to help with some advice, but at the same time, there's a little bit of strategy coming into play as well. Everyone trying to find that little bit of an edge on the competition, especially for our front runners who are trying to keep tabs of one another. For Terry Calgo Jr. asking, how's Nick Tyrrell going? Whereabouts are you? Trying to find out where exactly on the circuit are the two cars and where can he try and make up that little bit of time. There's that little bit of team play, that little bit of friendship, but at the same time, everyone trying to just suss out the competition here on what exactly goes on. And a black flag coming in for Brothers, a penalty to go through pit lane, and I suspect that's possibly for track limits exceeded. That is the 20 incident points being picked up, and now every 5 after that is another drive-through.
Yeah, it's not surprising at about halfway point with the number of drivers we've seen spin out early on, Steven, that we're starting to see some drivers get into those incident points. That could be another factor that comes into play here with Terry Calgary Jr. and Nick Tyrrell. Both of them been involved in some incidents, so they definitely have a couple 4Xs for the two of them. So they're going to have to drive as hard as they can, but within those limits, because they don't want to rack up the off tracks. But as you see Nick Tyrrell giving the old razzle dazzle to our leader, Alex Velasco, letting him know he's just going to dive him down into turn 10A and B here. Doesn't make the move though. I thought that was the notification he was coming through, but Nick Tyrrell wants to get back on that lead lap. He needs to try and mount a charge on Terry Calgary Jr. He's still sitting about 35 seconds or so back at Calgary Jr., but if he can get that lap back, you never know what could happen.
At the moment, I mean, our usual top runners have been pushed all the way back. If you think about it, Velasco at the moment, who leads out, he is absolutely fighting out for the podium. He's had 1 pole this season. He's had 1 win this season. He's been on the podium twice, but he's been in the top 5 3 times. He is really trying to have a recovery drive, as we do see John Cooper pulling into the pits with the Acura. He's trying to think a little bit outside the box. He's pushing that a little bit harder. For Fernandez, who holds 2nd place at the moment, he's only had 1 top 5 this entire season, and now is looking to put that BMW up towards the sharp end of the field. What would it be for a win here for him to go and fight out? 17th in the championship, so there's no championship fight. He can Hail Mary his whole way through, but with a single top 5 this entire season, how much will it mean for him to stay at the sharp end of the field? This is the other factors that come in. It's drivers that you don't usually see at the sharp end of the field, that don't usually have a solid run, now having a chance to move forward. Matt Barbaro out in the Mustang, he's had 4 top 10s, no top 5s at all this entire season, and he's fighting up in 3rd place at the moment, trying to see what he can do. I mean, this is what it means to drivers who haven't had their season, that haven't had their luck. What if Road Atlanta, 2 hours, double points, can be the make or break for them, that extra bit of momentum to push them forward into the next championship?
Yeah, still a lot to play for here for these drivers. Plus just kind of, pride here, Steven. Even if you're not in the championship battle, you got that little bit of pride. You come into this race, Road Atlanta, a track that I think almost every sim racer loves to some point in time. I've run into a couple people who don't like Road Atlanta, but for the most part, I'd say about 95% of sim racers really have Road Atlanta strongly up in their top 5 tracks. It's a track that, a lot of these drivers felt comfortable and confident coming into about putting a strong performance in. And if you had an incident early on, you had that long race here to try and regroup. Paul Skip, one of those drivers who sat it on pole, was involved in something early on, fell back a little bit here, Steven, but he's been using an alternate pit strategy here, got himself back up into third place. We don't know where he's going to finish, as he's still got 53 minutes to go, but this alternate strategy that he's working on may turn out to be the right play here as the race unfolds.
Well, a fixed setup in normal racing would be heading onto a 30-minute race. You can try get 45 minutes out of the tank, but it's going to be a hard push. But I've got to ask a question to those out in the virtual grandstand, even to yourself, Rob. For Road Atlanta, you went and said everyone's got some good memory, some little less so. What would be your first car that you ever got to have a huge amount of fun here at Road Atlanta, to really go and fight it out, and a moment that really stuck out for you around this circuit?
You know what, Steven? I've driven so many different cars here at Road Atlanta. It's probably my favorite track right after Road America. I've actually got a LED little light of each one of those tracks, Road America and Road Atlanta, so I've done a lot of racing here. My fondest moment would probably be back in when I was running GT4 a lot, when they first expanded out from the Porsche Cayman. That was basically the only GT4 that iRacing had for the longest time. I was doing some league racing and back-to-back wins, championship wins, and both of them came at Road Atlanta. So you know what, Road Atlanta, a track I love, and I love driving it in anything, but you know what, GT4 Porsche Cup, probably the most fun I have driving around here. What about yourself?
Well, if I had to think about the first time I got to battle around this circuit, was the Petite Le Mans in the LMP2. And that is when GTE was still lurking around. Needless to say, if you weren't quick in an LMP2, you were a moving chicane. And I remember very clearly going and thinking I am the fastest thing in the world. Unfortunately, got to learn very quickly that you got to really keep your foot in it, and I actually sat down with a couple of the GT drivers just to get some sort of understanding of how difficult the circuit is. It's nothing like what we have here in South Africa, and most certainly has become that track that I really love coming to, but also one that has gone and thrown a wrench in plans more than once, especially up the hill. When you have to cut through the right-hander, you can quite easily just pick up an off-track, send your car flying, or you'll end up going and smashing the bottom of the car. Going back into it, the first time I drove this circuit was when the LMP2 could still get floor damage from hitting the curbs a little bit too hard.
Yeah, I've damaged many a floor on an LMP2 on some curbs, Steven, but I thought of something when you had mentioned the South African tracks. A track that I've been kind of lobbying iRacing to add for years, and basically every time they put up the question, post the question, whether it's on Facebook or on their forums or it's posted on Reddit, they always ask that question: what's a track that you'd love to see on iRacing? Kyalami, that's a track that I've raced in every other sim. I just absolutely love it. I think there's rumors of potentially maybe F1 heading back there over the next few years. I'd love to see that too as well. So that's a track I keep looking for every season. When they bring out the dev blog, I always look forward to keep and see if there's any mention of it coming to the service. That's a track that I'd love to see them add here in the next season or two. But any of them that you've been eyeballing there, Stephen, hoping that they might join the service?
Well, in South Africa, I would have to say it would be East London, as that is an incredible circuit to go around. It's not as usual as your Kyalami Grand Prix circuit everyone gets to know and love, but it is one track that has a lot of history to it. It's an old school circuit that you get to fight it out. But talking about fighting out, Matt Barbaro all over the back of Fernandez, pushing as hard as he can to try and clear on by. And unfortunately, Fernandez making it rather difficult. If I had to look at some of the circuits out in the world, I don't quite know what else that I would want to see. I'd love to see those little no-name tracks, the ones that don't get all the fame and fortune coming to them, especially out in America. There's a lot of hidden gems that I'd love to see head out to the circuit. Even those out in the Dubai coming out to the iRacing service. It's going to be as hot as can be, that's for certain, when you go driving around them. But it's going to be a lot of fun. The iRacing service has definitely been putting in that bit of effort and taking a look at next season here at the Pony Express Sim Racing. We haven't really got the new circuits that are expected to come to the service, but we still got a great mix of technical and fast circuits, so everything for drivers to really have a lot of fun out here in the Pony Express. And if you think about it, you ending your race at Road Atlanta, you're going and having a ton of fun out there. 22nd of June, you're back at Daytona International Speedway. Two very different circuits to go and fight it out, and a very short space to take a breather, get back in and carry on the fight. Algarve as the next one. That's going to be on the 29th of June. Not an easy circuit to deal with. It's fast, it's flowing, but can be rather technical and really push the drivers to think outside the box. I don't know. I think you've got some hidden gems in the world. We do know iRacing Arcade has got Kyle Army. It has been scanned, and the reasoning that it hasn't come out on the rumor mill is they're waiting to see if there's any upgrades that's going to be done to the circuit for the F1. Don't think it's going to happen. There isn't much talk here in South Africa for that, but if it does come out onto the service, well, I do think there's going to be a number of drivers right here in the Pony Express that will give every South African a run for their money around that circuit.
Yeah, it's kind of a world-renowned circuit. It's kind of interesting that it's never made its way to iRacing. But speaking of the track we're at here, Road Atlanta, as you said, we're finishing off the season here, and then we head to Daytona to start next season. Very IMSA-esque. They're finishing off Road Atlanta, where the IMSA season normally finishes off, and then coming right back at Daytona, where it starts off. But as you see, Matt Barber trying to put some pressure on Adrian Fernandez here. They head down the straight into turn 10 A and B. The track used to actually run straight right up this hill, up underneath the Fox bridge that's there. They used to call it the dip, the world famous dip. There's many a car that went through there. I think there was one that actually almost flew up and hit that bridge, and they had to redesign turn 10 A and B now, Steven. So safety features have come into play here at Road Atlanta, changed the layout of the track to what we have now. But you know what, just once, I think it'd be fun to try and drive that old historic layout. Maybe iRacing could throw that in there one time as an alternate layout.
Well, let's play a little bit of trivia. And I love to do this because we've got an amazing circuit. We've got some amazing drivers, and the Pony Express is really showing what they can do for the next 46 minutes of racing. But when was the first time Road Atlanta was shown on a game?
On a game? You got me there,
when was
Steven.
When was its first debut?
You got me. I'm going to say 1992.
1992.
I'm going to say probably Gran Turismo 1 days, sometime around there.
No, believe it or not. It's actually something that I went and still to this day have in my cupboard. It came out on a Commodore 64. Now I'm showing my hand in terms of age there. 1985, a game called Racing Destruction Set was the name for it, and Road Atlanta got to have a bit of fun out there. Then later, going and reading up now, 1999 it was put on Sports and Car GT, and then later made an entry on Xbox on Forza Motorsport. The track was originally created for EA F1 in 01 and 02, and then modded to be put in for like R Factor, NASCAR Racing, BMG, and games also out on the PlayStation 2 such as Le Mans 24, and subsequently iRacing actually picking up the rights after that from Le Mans 24 Hours, the game that was actually located on PlayStation 2. But to kick it all off though, it's debut time, 1985, on the Commodore 64, with the original layout where this chicane didn't actually exist.
Huh. I wish I still had my Commodore 64, Steven. I had one of those, had a ColecoVision, the old Apple PC games. That was fun times. Kind of interesting to see how far information and technologies went as far as gaming just in that short period of time. It doesn't seem like very long, but 40 years as far as technology. Whenever you take a look 40 years before that, we were just getting into vehicles that weren't drawn by horses.
That's absolutely frightening, and we're showing our hand here, Rob. We're absolutely showing our hand. But let's talk about the race right now, because Velasco is 3.6 seconds ahead of Fernandez. We got 43 minutes left in this race. If my math is mathing, there's still one more very short stop that needs to be done, unless the drivers are able to eke out 3 more laps out of a tank, which is incredibly hard to do. It means that you're lifting a lot down the straight. But Fernandez and Barbaro are still fighting out for position, that second and third. Terry Cargo Jr., who started out with an end-of-line penalty, landed up in the wall, pointing the wrong direction, hammered into a Mustang, T-boning it, that absolutely destroyed him. Got a fast repair. He's up into 4th position right now. Terry Cargo Jr. will be securing his championship victory just by finishing in the top 4. He doesn't have to push any harder. He is right there for the Pony Express to walk away champion, and really having a stellar drive on his part. But just ahead of him, he knows that Barbaro is ahead of him. He knows Fernandez there. He knows Velasco is all fighting out, and he can take away crucial points from them that can influence the championship for the likes of Tyler, who holds on to 6th place, just ahead of Skip, because they are fighting out for 3rd in the championship. Ryan Tyler is 3rd in the championship, only 40 points away from Paul Skip, who Paul needs to get ahead of Tyler, force Tyler back out of the top 10 to be able to really go for 3rd place in this championship, to really maximize those double points.
Yeah, it's going to be very tight when the points are all calculated here, but right now it looks like Ryan Tyler doing what he needs to do to get himself that top 3 finishing position. But you know what, a guy we haven't talked about a whole lot here, Steven, he's kind of stayed out of the drama for the most part, got himself into a couple battles early on, but has found himself some clear track. You know, Keith Roycroft leading the GTD AM class right now. He started himself in 3rd place, dropped a couple spots here down to 5th, but right now, this AM driver showing a ton of performance, holding on to the final spot in the overall top 5, top spot in class, and well ahead of the next closest AM driver of Jonathan Cooper, who's down in 8th place right now.
Keith Roycroft has done only a total of 5 races this season. He's managed to get only 3 races that have counted, because there is drop rounds, 4 top 10s, 2 top 5s, 1 podium. There's no wins, but has definitely fought it out. He's even managed to score a pole position in the GTD AM class before, so he's no stranger to being at the sharp end of the field, but just hasn't had the luck play onto his side to really make his way through. He is 50 points away from Ryan Javine, who's not here, so Ryan will be losing out. Keith Roycroft looking to fight out a little bit closer, and he is trying to close up to Stephen Chansley a little bit further up. And this is Adrian Fernandez, who was on a stellar run. Unfortunately, the tail kicked out under the BMW, misses out the bridge, but now has to turn that car around. I would give him about a 6 out of 10 for that pirouette over there. It was a great idea. Didn't quite get the execution right, but it has most certainly gone and hampered his efforts for the fight in the championship, as Terry Calgo Jr. now up to 3rd, Fernandez down to 5th, Velasco leads, and Barbaro, who's been fighting out for that 2nd place, is now trying to keep up the run. So the Ford Mustang looks in the mirrors and can hear 6 cylinders chasing him down And let's see if Matt is going to play nice with Terry Calgo Jr., our current champion for the GTD Pro, or is it going to be Matt saying, listen, you've had your chance, you scored your points, I have been in the top 10 4 times, I have not had a top 5, I haven't had a podium, I haven't had a win, and I haven't had a pole. Listen, you've had enough. I'm going to stand my ground, and I am not letting this Porsche come around me.
You know what, Steven? I don't know if you can hear much of anything in that Mustang other than the Mustang. As much as I'd love to think he could hear Terry Calgary Jr. coming, that thing just roars. It's just angry at every minute. It's trying to kill you and the fans on the side of the track. So Matt Barber probably sees him in his mirrors, but I don't know if he's hearing that flat 6 coming up behind him with Terry Calgary Jr. But, you know, we still have 38 minutes to go. Could Terry Calgary do the potentially unthinkable with that instant early on? Had to use his fast repair, fell to the back of the pack, slowly just been putting in the laps, trying to close those gaps, moving up through the field. He is on a little bit of an alternate strategy here than Barber and Velasco. He came in 5 laps earlier for his last stop than Barber and about 8 laps earlier than Velasco. So we know he's going to have to pit a couple laps at least before these two drivers. But could we see Terry Calgary Jr. go from the back to the middle to the back to the front and win this race?
Well, 13 places up from where he started, and we've seen him do it once before where he's able to pull back from the brink. Question is, he's just got to keep himself going. And take a look out of 10B. There is a lot of dirt building up off the racing line. So Terry Calgo into the pits. This will be his final pit stop of the race. This is now in, get yourself sorted, and out, as we do see Jason Brothers still parked in pit lane. He's in 16th position, but this is the final stop. This is a critical moment for Terry Calgo Jr., for Alex Velasco, for Adrenaline Motorsports and SRG. He's going to be trying to push a hard charge up through the order. He wants to bring this 777 across the line. What it would be for a victory here. Nick Tyrrell, a little bit of a slow go around, lying a little bit further down. So Nick Tyrrell not having an easy time. Bit of a mistake, hard impact. And I do want to report, while we were watching this impact against with Nick Tyrrell, he did have Alex Velasco come around the outside of him, turn around and say, "Are you good, Nick?" With the comment coming in of, "As good as I can be right now. I'm just trying to see it through to the end. I'm counting down the minutes."
Yeah, we see him coming into the pits. He's going to be using his, I believe this is probably his second of the 2 fast repairs, Steven. So came into this one with potential championship aspirations if something were to go wrong for Terry Calgary Jr. Things did go wrong for Calgary Jr., but unfortunately for Terrell, they went wrong for him too as well. But I think Terry Calgary Jr., as good as he's doing here, Steven, with that alternate strategy, I think he's still going to have to come in for one more splash to go. He came in with about 37 minutes to go. If we remember back to the first stops the field made, they didn't quite make the 30-minute mark into the race. They were coming in about 25, 26 minutes into the race. So I think Terry Calgary Jr. at least going to have to come back in for one more splash to go. But I think if our drivers can get to just past the 30-minute to go mark in the race, they can get to the end of the race. It'd be interesting to see which one of our drivers can get to that point. It could be a race-winning strategy for any of those drivers that do manage to get to that.
Well, I'm just taking a look at the points here. If Nick Tyrrell stays where he is, he might be losing out of the top 3 completely, because Ryan Tyler's going to jump him in the points. Ryan Tyler will move up to 2nd place. He's 160 points behind Nick Tyrrell, but it is double points here tonight to really move forward. Nick Tyrrell is not going to be scoring as much as he wants, but also right behind Paul Skip and Alex Velasco. If they keep the solid drive and keep within the top 5, there's a very good chance that Nick Tyrrell, right in the last race of the season, double points, where it's absolutely crucial, may have the fastest lap, but won't be going and seeing that 2nd place on the podium, won't even be able to get the 3rd place on the podium. What a nightmare of a season that would be. You've fought so hard. You've walked away with a pole. You've walked away with 2 wins. You've been on the podium 8 times. You've been in the top 5 11 times during the course of this. It comes down to the final round, and it all goes pear-shaped around Road Atlanta. And just listening on the radio, you can hear the usual confidence in his voice, the usual "I've got this, don't worry about it, I'm pushing," starting to slip away. And you can hear that he's a little bit down on his luck. Someone's going to be jumping back on that radio to him, or someone from his team, just to say, listen, keep your head in the game, keep going, and circulate. There's points on the line here. Matt Barbaro into the pits from second place. Valesco continues on. Matt going for his stop. 33 minutes remain. Rob, we are seeing everything unfold in the last couple of minutes of this race. We are seeing championships on the line, but we're also seeing drivers getting pushed way out of their comfort zones and really having to not only overcome the circuit, overcome the conditions, but also overcome their own mental fatigue, trying to convince themselves, listen, I've got to keep going, I've got to dig deep, I've got to push that a little bit harder.
Yeah, it's time to dig down inside, find that little bit of extra speed. Maybe give yourself a couple slaps in the cheek there, Stephen. Wake yourself back up. Get those eyes wide open here and push to the end of the race. As Alex Velasco now comfortable 18-second gap over Adrian Fernandez in second place. So the driver who needs to keep that attention span up. It's easy sometimes, Stephen, when you get out to a big lead, you get a little complacent. You don't really have your adrenaline going because you're not battling anybody on track. You're just kind of putting in laps, and when you get into a race that's kind of at night, it's easy to just lose track of something. You lose something in the shadows, or you're coming up over a blind corner, which Road Atlanta has a number of kind of blind cresting corners, that turn 2-3 section, and then out of turn 5, you know, when you have blind exits, you don't know what necessarily it's up ahead of you, and sometimes those shadows kind of throw it off a little bit, where you think you're still on the curbs, you're on the track, and next thing you know, you're dropping a tire into the grass and you're spinning into the wall. So Velasco needs to keep that attention span up. He's still got some work to do to bring home the race, and you know, for the rest of the field, they've still got their work cut out too, as well as our AM leader now, Keith Roycroft, into the pits to finish up his stop here with about 31 minutes to go. So it looks like, if I'm calculating it here correctly, Stephen, I think we're going to need at least a splash and dash here from the majority of the field before the checkered flag.
It's going to be an interesting one. Terry Calgo Jr. up into 5th. Paul Skip, who is lying 40 points behind Ryan Tyler, looking at that 3rd place. If he can try get past Ryan Tyler, if he can see Ryan drop down out of the top 5, it is an opportunity for Paul Skip to go and take that last spot on the podium. At the moment, it's going to be a hard fight to get it done and dusted, but it's not completely out of the woodwork. Ryan Tyler, who has been a stalwart out this season, he's done 9 races, but in all 9 races, he's placed himself in the top 10. He's placed himself in the top 5 7 times. He's gotten 5 podiums, 3 wins, and 2 pole positions during the course of the season. He is the only one within the top 4 that hasn't done every round of the championship. Terry Calgo Jr. has done 11. Nick Turrell has done 11. Ryan has done 9. And Paul Skip has done 11. It really does show how much effort Ryan Tyler has really put out every time he's hit the circuit to still fight out for the podium, despite missing out on 2 rounds.
And what could have been for Ryan Tyler, remember he got the black flag for jumping the start early on, started on the front row, but got the jump over Paul Skip, and unfortunately had to serve that drive-through for that. Currently sitting in 3rd place, but you know what? He's probably got visions in his head. You know, if I wouldn't have done that, maybe I could have had a podium finish here, or potentially even first, Stephen.
Well, that is it. And taking a look to our GTDM, because we cannot forget about it, Russell Abram has been slowly but surely climbing his way up, and there he is on screen in the Porsche. Russell Abram is 8th in the championship. He's managed to put himself up towards the top quietly, like Keith Roycroft, just going and mining out, fighting his way through to the end. And ultimately, it's going to be a tough time. Russell Abram is 10 points off Daniel Barnett, who's tied with Rene Butter Jr. for 6th place. So for Russell Abram, there's an opportunity here to possibly get himself into 6th place. He's got no poles this season. He's only had 1 win in his class. He's been on the podium 3 times, a top 5 4 times. 4 times he's been in the top 10, and he's only raced a total of 4 races. Russell Abram, slowly but surely, trying to just fight his way through little by little. He has been showing the Sky Lounge Porsche is not to be caught out here. I mean, Rob, these are some incredible racing. This is some incredible fights, but everyone pushing through down to the wire. It's 28 minutes left in this. Everyone having to dig deep, really concentrate on what they can do. The amount of changes we have seen in both classes for the podium has been absolutely mental, and it's coming down to the wire. Ryan Tyler now looking down to pit lane. This will be his stop. 27 minutes left in the race, and if we're going on your calculation, Rob, this should be his final pit stop. The question comes in, is it enough to get ahead of Velasco? Skip into the pit, Velasco running out a little bit longer. So Velasco up into first, Tyler down into the pits. How long is he going to stay in? Is he going to swap out those tires? Terry Calgo Jr. will then snatch up third. He'll snatch up second. Terry Calgo Jr. finally sees himself into the top 3 and is absolutely smiling ear to ear. A nightmare of a start to the race for him. Started with an end-of-line penalty. Now finally sees himself onto the podium, and he is pushing all the way through. 8.6 seconds behind Alex Velasco. Fernandez up into 3rd place. Roycroft up into 4th. Matt Barbaro up into 5th. Ryan Tyler holds on 6th place. Butter Jr. into 7th. Paul Skip into 8th. And then we've got John Cooper in 9th. Russell Abrams into that top 10 as he gets ahead of Suxi, who's also had a nightmare of a race. He's in 11th position. Nick Tyrrell is holding on for that. Sorry, Nick Tyrrell moves up to 11th. Suxi into the pits. Charlesley will be coming around. We have got drivers pushing that final little bit of a step. It's gone quiet on the radios, Rob. It has gone very, very quiet. Drivers are now seeing it's down to the wire. Everyone is worn out, but they know they've got to really dig deep. They've got to push that little bit further to see what they can do to really make it work in their favor. Ultimately, it is going to come down to one solid push. Who wants the podium more? Who wants to stand above all? Who wants to see the final checkered flag of the season? It has been 12 hard rounds of fighting, tooth and nail. Rob, we joined here going and watching the racing at Adelaide, and from round 6 we turned around and said, folks, get ready for a championship that is really going to set things ablaze. Get ready to see some of the closest racing out there, and get ready to see drivers really going and showing their mettle. Well, tonight at Road Atlanta, for a double point round, for a 2-hour race, which is 1 hour over what they usually race, this has definitely been at that extra push that we said at round 6 that we need to keep an eye on. And at the moment, we're looking at Terry Calgo Jr. trying to catch up to Velasco. Is he going to be able to take the final checker flag of the season, not only to call himself the winner of the GTD Pro Championship, to walk away as the Season 2 champion for 2026, but for the Pony Express to go and stand above them all and say, listen, I've done it. and I fought against the odds to get myself across that line to really go through. James Foreman, who is down in 15th position. If we talk about James Foreman, his championship hasn't quite been the greatest. He's 390 points ahead of Joshua Suxi, who holds on to second. Brad McCombs unfortunately not here tonight, but Justin Togdegno looking at a third place. Justin just needs to try and see possibly can he get that car out onto the track, and can he move forward as he's fourth in the championship. Stephen Maino holds on to fifth. Rene Butter Jr., who is sixth in the championship, now looking to try and push his way up through the order. I mean, we're into the final stages of this race. We're into the final push down to the wire, and ultimately, who can give it that hard press across the line and call themselves a champion at the end of it? I mean, this is getting down to the wire. This is looking great. This is what we come to expect from the Pony Express. Nothing is certain until the checkered flag comes down. You've gone and parked the car on the trailer, you've gone home, and you're ready trying to play a game of solitaire.
Solitaire is one of my favorite card games, Steven. It's the only one I can't get beaten at by somebody else. So sometimes, you know, like to say some drivers are playing chess while the rest of the field is playing checkers. Right now, Terry Calgary Jr., I think safe to say this whole season, he's been in a bit of a chess match between he, Ryan Tyler, and Nick Terrell. And you know what? All three of those drivers suffered some adversity here tonight. Nick Terrell kind of suffering a little more adversity than we've seen Terry Calgary have, and I think that's going to be the end result of what's going to solidify the championship here for Terry Calgary Jr., although I'm not quite sure he's going to have enough fuel to get to the end. He doesn't seem to be saving any fuel here. He's putting in 118, mid 118 laps each time around, almost mimicking what our leader Alex Velasco is putting in. So if Terry Calgary Jr. has to come in for a splash and dash at the end of the race, he's not conserving anything here now. He is go, go, go.
Trying to give it that last little bit of push. Unfortunately, a couple of drivers that won't be seeing the end of the race. Troy Banks, Gerald Lowry, Ryan Stone, Justin Togdegno, and Devin Lowry as our early retirements in this race. They're cheering on from the sidelines and also giving some word of confidence to the drivers, just trying to will them across the end for season 2. Absolutely showing it what they can do, and it's wonderful to see the unifying effort coming in from the drivers, as Brothers unfortunately stopped in the pits after having some serious major damage to his car. He's trying to just get some repair work done and dusted and possibly get out for the final lap. I mean, that is ultimately a tough one to come in. I've got to say my personal favorite has to come down to the two Acras. John Cooper out on in 8th place, second in class. Much like Brad McCombs, has been one of these cars that everyone's overlooked, and I don't know why. It's one of the best. Everyone tends to call them lawnmowers, but they're absolutely incredible little cars to go and drive, and I really hope to see more of them coming next season. He's trying to close up to the likes of Roy Croft. Ahead of him in the BMW, he's got Russell Abram trying to put a bit of pressure on for that 3rd place, and is 11 seconds behind. But when we talk about that, we say it's 11 seconds, we say it's 29 seconds, but it takes one lockup, one miss of a corner, one spin, and that's it. You can lose 20 seconds. And if you want to ask anyone about that, go and have a chat to Terry Calgary Jr. What happened when he lost a little bit of a run? He lands up going and losing out 20 seconds, but he is on one final charge. I mean, not too long ago, you and I were talking about a 6-second gap. It's now 4.9 seconds. He is looking to chase down Velasco right to the end. And I've just heard on the comms that Terry Calgary Jr. has just warned Velasco, saying, listen, I'm coming for you. I want that spot. Velasco has been warned that Terry Calgary Jr. is absolutely on a monstrous charge and not wanting to be caught out here. If you want to go and have anything, well, when you got your competition starting to play those head games, starting to sing the Jaws theme song while you're out on the track, you know they mean business.
I wonder if that's kind of likened back to the baseball player stepping up to the plate here, Stephen, and pointing to the far fences that he's going to hit a home run, or you know, Muhammad Ali or something, saying they're going to go in there and knock the guy out. Terry Calgary Jr. could be playing a little bit of mental gymnastics here with Alex Velasco, trying to get into his head, trying to get Velasco watching that relative screen to see the shark of Terry Calgary Jr. lurking up in behind. He's closing the gap, Stephen, but I'm not sure he's going to have enough time to do it. He's only taking about a tenth or two each lap out of Velasco, so you need to start taking about a half a second or so a lap out to really close in enough to make a challenge at the end of the race.
Well, just having a listen, Keith Roycroft going and telling Matt Barbaro, look, pass me on the right, get past me, and he's going to be pulling into the pits. So Keith Roycroft looking that he's not going to be making it to the end, rather to give up the position, sit behind Barbaro just that little bit longer. He knows that his fight is a little bit further back to John Cooper in 8th place for the GTD AM class. Russell Abram holds on to 3rd place. Nick Tyrrell still holds on to the fastest lap of the race, as we do see a penalty coming in for Kira Medoro. Unfortunately, right towards the end, it is still coming into effect. That 20 incident point limit now starting to play its hand a little bit more. Every 5 after that's a drive through. Maduro, just yet another car starting to face it, but we are counting down those laps. We're counting down those times. And well, for Terry Calgary Jr., once again going telling Velasco, I'm coming for you. Velasco answering, well, catch me first. And every time Velasco is getting close to competitors, he's asking them, please mind out the way, I need to come past. He is asking his competitors to just give him a little bit of room, as Matt Barbaro now puts a bit of pressure on Fernandez, looking to try and capture that 3rd place. What it will be for Matt Barbaro to finally go and stand up on the podium in the top 3 and say, hey, listen, I've got this. I've gone and put in a solid bit of work, and I have raced every single time. I have battled it out, but I have never been able to score a top 3. I've never been able to stand on the podium come the end of the race. With Fernandez right ahead of him, this is an opportunity. And for Fernandez, he's managed to get 1 top 5. He's never scored a top 3. He's never scored a win. So for Fernandez, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. Can he go and score a 3rd place? Both drivers have everything but just wanting to be there. They have fought all season long. They've gotten close. They have gotten so close to putting their hand on the bronze, but just always landed up with bad luck going and pushing him down. Which one of the two will be able to keep it up? And not to count out Roycroft, he's saving fuel behind. He's even said, I'm not going to fight you. I'm just going to wait. He's trying to save that little bit of fuel. I'm going to play a little bit of what if, as we do see Roycroft pulling into the pits. Never mind, I was going to say, what if we see Fernandez and Barbaro hooking up against one another and have entirely different 3rd place, as now Ryan Tyler is up into that 5th place and trying to move forward.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened to Terry Calgary Jr. here, but he's fallen well back. Oh, sorry, no, he hasn't fallen back. I was reading that wrong. I thought he fell back with 13 seconds of our leader Velasco, but no, he's still sitting comfortably in 2nd place, but he's closed that gap here. But I'm having a look. You were hearing on comms that Keith Roycroft was saying that he wasn't going to be able to make it to the finish without popping in for some more fuel. He came in on lap 77, and I was having a look before that. I believe he came in on lap 63, which is 2 laps later than Terry Calgary Jr. So I don't think as much as Calgary Jr. is pushing to try and catch Velasco, I think that's all just mind games he's playing with him, because my calculations show that Calgary Jr. at the pace he's going here, Steven, is still going to have to come in for a little splash of fuel.
This is going to be an interesting one. 14 minutes left in the race. Do you really want to be the chap to dive in? Absolutely fighting one another. Alex Velasco getting told by Ryan Butter Jr., pass me after the S's. Just keep going. But Matt Barbaro focusing on the charge, trying to get past Fernandez. It is nose to tail between the two of them. The Mustang GT3 chasing down the BMW, looking to try and get past. You can see utilizing every inch of the circuit. I've paid for it, I'm going to use it, but he's also got to be careful not to pick up those incident points. Starting to lose more and more time, and the last thing you want to do is drive down pit lane, not for fuel, but just to get the walk of shame from going and pushing a little too hard right at the end. Fernandez looking to try and score his first ever spot on the podium, and same as Matt Barbaro, both drivers have been so close, and much like Icarus, they've gotten close but no cigar. Terry Calgo Jr., you said it, he's into the pits. Terry Calgo Jr. into the pits, and the question is, now this is him done and dusted for his pit stops, but he is waiting to try and get himself sorted, and will immediately have Fernandez and Barbaro come gunning past as the two of them fight it out into turn one. Immediately Matt trying to see if he can go down the inside of Fernandez, couldn't quite get it done. And this is a final push. Has Fernandez and Barbaro got enough fuel in the tank to see it through to the end? Have they got that final push? We're on lap 80. We're expected to have 91 laps in this race. Velasco is trying to open up the distance, and we've got one driver that I didn't quite expect. Ryan Tyler up into fourth place. Ryan Tyler pitted early compared to Terry Calgo Jr., now trying to see if he has an opportunity to get into the top three, and is 9 seconds ahead of Terry Calgo Jr. What it would be for Ryan Tyler to capture some points for his championship, to bounce up to second ahead of Nick Tyrrell, and also go and prove that he is a future champion here in the Pony Express GT3 Challenge.
Yeah, I'm having a look at the laps that the top two came in for their pits. I was just going to say, I don't think Matt Barber can make it. He came in last on lap 64, which was one lap after the Keith Roycroft, and we know he couldn't make it. Velasco and Fernandez both came in on lap 67, Steven. Ryan Tyler, last pit stop on lap 68. So it's going to be touch and go for the top three, whether they can make it. They're going to need to do a little bit of fuel saving. Thankfully for Velasco, he has 18 seconds over Fernandez, so he has plenty of room to lift and coast and do a little fuel saving here. Adrian Fernandez, now that he's lost Matt Barber off his tailpipe, can do a little of that to himself. But Ryan Tyler came in one lap later than those two. I suspect he's probably got enough fuel to get the end, but does he have enough fuel to push as hard as he needs to do to potentially reel in Fernandez and take as many championship points here as he can get?
Well, just listening to Matt Barbaro on his pit stop, he is less than impressed with the Ford Mustang, saying if only it could be drinking through a straw instead of a fuel pipe to try and see it through to the end. He was having a lot of fun out there with Fernandez, and the gut-wrenching punch to him is now that chance for the top three gone out of the run. Paul Skip keeping a solid charge on Terry Calgo Jr. He's trying to close up, see what he can do. Remember, Paul Skip is 40 points off Ryan Tyler and is trying to claw his way back into contention here to possibly see if the points work out in his favor. Nick Tyrrell is 180 points away from Terry Calgo Jr. He's 160 points ahead of Ryan Tyler, and will sit 180 points ahead of Paul Skip. This is a double point run, as Nick Tyrrell taking the alternative line, I would say, here at Road Atlanta to try and get that one done. Pushing harder and harder to see what he can do. He's aiming for the fastest lap, and he's really trying to make it stick. as he keeps a little bit of pressure on Russell Abram up ahead.
Yeah, that's the scenic route, we call that one, Stephen. The little extra scenic route out of turn 5 for Nick Terrell, trying to find any pace he can, but our leader down through turn 12 across the line. That's going to start lap 83 for him. So getting down to the nitty gritty here, Stephen, just under 9 minutes to go. It's going to be a real touch and go for a lot of these drivers to get to the finish of the race without making another stop. As it looks like we got Keon Majuro, who's out of the race, came in on lap 68. Joshua Susi, he's a lap down, came in on 68 for his last stop. Paul Skip came in on lap 68 for his last stop. Ryan Tyler, lap 68, and then 67 for Fernandez and Velasco. Those are the remaining of the field here who haven't come in for one more stop. So they're the drivers that are going to be trying to, as Matt Barber said, trying to get their car to sip through a straw instead of, as you said, a pipe here, Stephen.
Well, I've got to say, Paul Skip actually going and asking Terry Calgo Jr., listen, can you do me a favor, pull me along, and I'd like to finish ahead of you. Terry had a short little giggle and said, catch me if you can, on the way through. So it's a bit of talking in the back and trying to will each other on, and also not afraid to chirp one another. Terry Calgo Jr. just saying, yeah, sure, I'll help you, but you got to catch me. And if you do want to finish ahead, you got to work that a little bit harder to go and fight it out for the GTD Pro Division. Keith Roycroft leads out the GTD AM along with Butter Jr. and John Cooper hanging on to third place. It's good to see the Acura still keeping alive out there, but what a tremendous run. The only top runners that have got the same in terms of manufacturers is our GTD Pro with Velasco and Tyler, both in the Mercedes, Fernandez in the BMW. But if Fernandez or Tyler can't see it through to the wire, we will have 3 different manufacturers in both classes going and fighting out for the podium.
That's pretty interesting, Stephen, especially with the sheer amount of Porsches that we have on the grid here tonight, dominating the manufacturer side of things. So to see that kind of spread across the classes is fun, and what you love to see. You love to see a balance where basically you can grab any car and go out there and be competitive at any track. And you know what, there's been some seasons where iRacing's balance of performance has really been hit or miss, but I think the last couple of seasons they've gotten it really close, where it hasn't really mattered what car you've had out on track. You can be competitive at almost every racetrack on the service. Our
It's been
leaders
an incredible one. Velasco in the pits didn't have enough in the tank. This is a nightmare effort. This is going to be literally fuel it up for 3 laps. Just try and get that car sorted. As the countdown goes, Fernandez is 20 seconds behind. Fernandez pulls into the pits. It is the BMW down into pit road. Ryan Tyler into the pits as well. Terry Calgo Jr. may have just gone and won the math game here. This is going to be a tough one. Velasco trying to get himself off pit road. He wants to try and see it through to the end. Terry Calgo Jr. up into second. Paul Skip into third. Velasco trying to hold on to the lead of the race. Paul Skip up into third. Ryan Tyler down into fourth. Fernandez trying to move forward. Fernandez up into fourth place. Ryan Tyler is in the drop zone. Ryan Tyler, if he falls any further down, will be losing out third place in the championship to Paul Skip. He has to get ahead of Paul Skip in 5 minutes. This is third place going down the tubes, from going and serving a drive-through, from leading out the race. He is now looking in the final race of the season to lose out that bronze trophy. He's looking to lose out to Paul Skip. Paul might be going and absolutely robbing him of that, and quite possibly Alex Velasco is looking to try and put himself into the top 4. He's looking for a solid drive here. This is a wild race down to the wire. Rob, for the next 4.5 minutes, I think we're going to see quite a few drivers holding their breath. And Paul Skip into the pits. Skip is into the pits. he went and miscalculated his fuel, and that is going to bring it back into Ryan Tyler's favor. And Ryan, who clears on pass, trying to clear through the traffic, will manage just to hold on to that third place. I thought Paul Skip had it. I thought that final pit stop would have been it, but unfortunately the Chev not having the legs, and Paul Skip suffering on that last run.
Yeah, unfortunately for Paul Skip, he had that alternate strategy that we talked about early on where he came in only laps after his first pit stop. I think maybe if he would have waited a few more laps later and came in, he might have actually worked it out right on the nose here, Stephen. But what could have been for him, he'll have to, put that on the back burner and get himself ready in a couple of weeks for next season to start. And, take that little bit of knowledge and tell everybody, I'm not going to have that happen again. I'm going to come back even stronger and put myself in that podium battle.
Well, for Fernandez, it will be his first ever top 3 at the moment. If he can remain in third place, it will be his first ever top 3, but he's going to have to fight against Keith Roycroft at the moment, who's also trying to stay in for that charge. He also wants to get a top 3 overall, but the talking point right now for the next 2 minutes and 50 seconds, Alex Velasco has been just keeping consistent. Started out in 5th place and gently, little by little, moving up, as we do see Nick Tyrrell once again holds that fastest lap time. He is showing that he is not completely out of the running, that this might not been his championship, but he plays. He will look to try and fight his way up to the order, but will be showing Terry Calgo Jr. next season, I'm on the back of you. Roycroft pushing onto the back of Fernandez, trying to do whatever he can with Matt Barbaro right onto the back of him. The two of them drag racing, but it is going to be Matt to get the drive. Clears on by Matt Barbaro up into 4th, and listening on the radio, Keith Roycroft unsure if he has enough fuel to fight it out, so he's lifted to allow Matt Barbaro through. Roycroft is going to slip down behind Tyler, who is right on the back of him. This is a race right down to the wire, and everyone's starting to flirt with those last little bit of fuel in the tank, lifting as much as they can, trying to just see the end of it. What it would be for a number of these drivers to just have that hard push before Fernandez. He is just asking Matt, do me the favor, can I finish in 3rd? Matt Barbaro just challenged him and said no.
Yeah, Matt Barber still trying to mount that charge on Adrian Fernandez to get himself the final podium spot. He's not willing to let it go. Couldn't find a way around him before that last pit stop. But he's going to have the rest of this lap plus one more here, Stephen, to try and make that happen. As our leader, Alex Velasco, into the final corner here now. He's going to be picking up the white flag this time by. So all he has to do is keep it together here for one more lap here, Stephen, and this race will be his.
6 seconds behind Terry Calgo Jr., who will walk away the Season 2 GTD Pro Champion right here for the Pony Express GT3 Challenge. And he is having a huge amount of fun as we got to fight for 3rd. Fernandez going around the long way, trying to hold back. Matt gets ahead of him. Fernandez slipping down the order. Matt Barbaro starting to stretch the legs a little bit more. The Mustang just having a little bit more in the tank. Can Fernandez close up that gap? Can he push that little bit harder to see if it's going to work out? I mean, this is turning into a monstrous run for 3rd place, but I do think Matt has done enough to stretch his legs ahead of the BMW. But heading down the straightaway, flashing his lights, Alex Velasco will be looking to try and fight it out. He's had 1 pole, he's had 1 victory, he's been on the podium twice, he's been in the top 3 times. He's been in the top 10 8 times, but rounds the final corner. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, 5th in the championship, Alex Velasco takes the final victory here at Road Atlanta, and to take the championship for the GTD Pro goes to Terry Calgo Jr., 3rd place, who fought his way back from the brink, and for the first time this entire season will stand on the podium. The Canadian Matt Barbaro finally stands on the podium. For our GTDM, it is Keith Roycroft, who was unsure about having enough fuel. He manages to come across the line and has managed to take his first win of the season. But it is going to be the Acura of John Cooper. He bashed the wall. He fought his way back. He thought it was done and dusted. John Cooper going to be smiling ear to ear on this one. He has had no chances at the podium this entire season. And what a way to end things off, out in 2nd place, ahead of Russell Abrams, who has been on a solid charge. Russell will take his 4th ever podium here for the season. He has done 5 races, and 4 of them he's been on the podium. And here comes the likes of Butter Jr., a stellar drive on his part to get himself up into the top 5 of the GTD AM class. Rob, we got to see history made, legacies written, and once again, Road Atlanta puts on a phenomenal show. And what a way to send off an incredible season for Season 2 of 2026 of the Pony Express GT3 Challenge. And taking a look for the pros, Alex Velasco takes the victory with Terry Calger Jr. 6 seconds behind. Matt Barbaro will take 3rd, as Adrian Fernandez in 4th, Ryan Tyler in 5th, Paul Skip in 6th, followed by Nick Turtle, Stephen Chauncey, Jason Brothers, and Gerald Lowry, rounding out our top 10 in the pro category.
And over in AM, we see Keith Roycroft taking top spot over Jonathan Cooper and Russell Abraham. Rene Badgett Jr. comes home in 4th, with a number of drivers in the AM class not able to see the checker flag here. Steven with Joshua Susi in 5th, Majuro a couple laps down, Foreman 7 laps down, Troy Banks out early on with connection issue. Tardogno has suffered a number of ill-fated spins. Devin Lowry and Ryan Stone out early from that VR issue. But you know what, all in all, Steven, 2 hours of racing. We had excitement all throughout this one. I don't think we could have asked for much better of a race.
Absolutely, and we're going to get to have a chat to our drivers on an incredible race and how the season has played out. It has been a dogfight in the GTD Pro and GTD AM. The one driver that's going to be more than happy after a solid run in the 911 car, going and looking to fight his way through. He hadn't had the easiest of fights. Came into this round 180 points ahead of Nick Turrell. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, your Season 2 winner for the Pony Express GT3 Challenge, Terry Calgo Jr. Welcome to the winner's circle. You've managed to capture the victory, 2nd in the race, but scoring enough points to say you are champion.
Oh man, that was a rough one. It was exciting, but there was never a dull moment, that's for sure. Oh, I'm still sweating. I need to crank my AC up down a little more.
I mean, in this race, you started with an end-of-line penalty, already handicapped on that one. And then all of a sudden, coming up at the top of the circuit, squaring a Mustang in the door as hard as possible, busting the car. Did you think that was the race? That was your championship, considering Nick Turrell and Ryan Tyler, Paul Skip, Alex Velasco, all on the charge and making some proper headway out there?
Yes, I thought I was done. I knew Nick had his own issue. Didn't know how bad it was. I just knew mine was pretty bad, and I didn't know if I was going to get it back to pit road. But I got lucky. But I had a strategy in mind, and I just stuck to it. And I kind of wish I could have seen it play out, without any incidents, because I think I could have cut out that entire last pit stop. Instead of having to stop for that fifth one, I could have cut it down to 4 and maybe pulled off the win tonight.
Well, with that being said, looking back at the championship, the brawls that you've had all season long, Nick Tyrrell, Ryan Tyler, Paul Skip, Alex Valesco, Sean Adkins, Gerald Lowry, Wes Amarick, Jason Brothers. I mean, you've had some incredible fights throughout the season. Is there any particular race that stands out to you? And what is your closing thoughts on this incredible season 2 that we got to see here at the Pony Express? And we look forward to the future of season 3 starting up on the 22nd of June.
Out of all of them, I'm probably going to say this one sticks out the most, just because I don't want to say it's the hardest I had to work, but it's the first time this season I've had some major damage and had to try to make a comeback from that. So that was a huge obstacle, for the season finale and with everything on the line. But yeah, no, it was just a great season. I had a lot of luck go my way. And it's fun racing with these guys. They don't give you a minute to take a break at all, even a second for that matter. It's just, all out fun. We're beating and banging with each other, in a nice way, not intentionally trying to do any harm or anything, just, aggressive, but careful with each other at the same time. And it just makes for some fun racing.
With that being said, you are the GTD Pro Champion. Anything you would like to say to all the teams, to all the drivers that you've got to square up, to all the race fans out here on the Race of Nexus, to all the partners here at the Pony Express Sim Racing, to the admins and stewards behind the scenes that have been working frantically throughout this in 12 seasons, the 12 weeks of racing here for season 2.
Yeah, I want to give a big thanks to everybody, you guys for doing what you do. It's a great broadcast. I love watching it afterwards. Nick, Paul, and Keith that help me out every week on the admin stuff, and just all the racers that show up and make this possible to where we can come out here on Monday nights and have fun and have a blast. And anybody watching, if you want to come join us, more the merrier. We always have room. But yeah, we're just gearing up now and getting ready for next season. Going to enjoy this one a little bit and start getting everything ready to go. And I believe we're having you guys back for next season, so that'll be fun.
And we're looking forward to seeing if you can become a back-to-back champion. Well done, Terry Calgary Jr., a stellar driver, second place here tonight, and winning out the GTD Pro Championship for Season 2.
Thank you.
Incredible run on his part. And what a way to say, I walked away a champion. You could hear that little bit of emotion, Rob, of just finally, I managed to do it. That little bit of nerve-wrack put to one side. But Rob, this has been just an incredible race, and you can hear the well up of emotions, and I'm sure many of the others have been feeling the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure at the beginning of the race when he was in all that adverse situation to start, Stephen, he probably wasn't envisioning this going the way it did, but yeah, definitely breathing a sigh of relief is Terry Calgary Jr. But why don't we let's bring in our race winner here to finish off the season, Alex Velasco. Alex, heck of a race for you. We saw you with a number of battles there with Adrian Fernandez. You guys went door to door a number of times up through turns 2 and 3, but you're able to outlast him. You're able to hold off the charge of Terry Calgary Jr., and you're going to come home the winner of race 12 of this 12 race season. Talk us through your race.
I'm just looking at the screen right now, see my incident where I was on cold tires and lapped the car behind me. Cold tires were definitely something to consider during this race. I took tires almost every pit stop, the left sides, and then I would choose either the front left or front right or the rear right, alternating within the pits. That was my strategy for tires, and then on track, I was just really happy to have some pretty good pace out there. Sometimes I'm not able to get the pace that I like, but this time I think just a little bit of practice that I did paid off. I'm happy
Now
to
we
be
saw
here.
we saw the last came down. I think his last 3 or 4 laps. Yourself, Fernandez, and Tyler all had to come in for a little splash of fuel. Were you trying to save throughout the race to maybe eliminate that stop, or was it just you couldn't afford to, by virtue of the battles you were in the entire race?
I wasn't looking to fuel save. I primarily just wanted to keep pushing in order to get a gap to the cars behind. I did see Terry come up on the leaderboard, which gave me a little bit of a shock, but he's really good about it. So anyway,
Are we going to see you back next season to take a shot at the Pro Championship?
as long as the schedule stays the same, yes, sir.
Absolutely great stuff. Before we let you go here, Alex, any shout outs you want to give the millions and millions of fans at home cheering you on?
Yeah, I would like to shout out my mom for giving birth to me. You know, she's number one. My father for introducing me to motorsports, and there's a group called Sim Racers Group. It's a league of mine. Check it out at simracersgroup.com. One of my buddies, Jason Cotter, runs it, and yeah, good bunch.
Excellent stuff. Best of luck next season to you, Alex, and we hope to see you build off your win to finish off the season here tonight. Take care.
Thanks, Razor Nexus. Peace.
That was our race winner, Stephen.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Alex Valesco going and having a stellar one. And we've got just our provisional points here to just let everyone know. Terry Calgo Jr. will take over the win for the GTD Pro, with Nick Tyrrell taking second place. Ryan Tyler will hold on to third. Ahead of Paul Skip and Alex Valesco rounding out the top 5. For our GTD AM, it's James Foreman with Joshua Suxi finishing up in second place. Brandon Coombs manages to hold on to that third place, with Justin Togdigno not having his race. Will finish up in fourth, and Russell Abram holds on to that top 5 come the end of the season. Rob, it's been an incredible time here at the Pony Express, and what a time it has been. But like all great things, it does have to come to an end. We say farewell to season 2. We will rejoin in season 3 on the 22nd of June. Any closing thoughts from your side on this incredible league, the incredible racing we got to see, and the fights that we got to commentate on with some amazing drivers?
Yeah, it's been, we only picked it up halfway through the season, as we mentioned early on, but it's been non-stop action all throughout. And, you know, we appreciate Terry Calgary Jr. and the rest of the admin staff for bringing us on board, asking us to come back again next season. And again, if you're out there watching and wanting to know how to join the league, you find the Discord link in the description of the video too as well. Unfortunately, our AM Championship winner is not in the waiting room here to have a chat with us tonight, Stephen, but hats off to James Foreman, as you mentioned, was able to still bring home the AM Championship, not without having an adverse night for him himself here too as well. But on your side of things, Stephen, how was the season for you?
This was great, and it makes me want to jump in behind the wheel and attempt to be even slower than I am, because I don't think I can be on the same pace as what our drivers have been out here. This has been a ton of fun. This has been the Pony Express. This has been something every time I wake up in the morning, a big smile on my face to come and enjoy the racing. And I can't wait to see what season 3 brings. New tracks, new drivers, new challenges, and everyone looking to really push their way forward. A massive shout out to the entire Pony Express team for putting on a fantastic show. To all the drivers and teams, absolutely incredible stuff. To all our partners here at Nexus Races, along with Apex Sim Racing and Track Cams Gourmet, if you're looking to go and fight it out and see some of the best shots, it's always great to see it. AlienAwards.net being a part of it. Our massive huge thank you goes out to Rob Campbell, our producer and color commentary. You're giving us all the great overlays and camera angles that you got to see here tonight, and we look forward to seeing you joining us here at the Pony Express. Make sure you hit the like button, hit that bell notification icon, and also subscribe to the channel here at Racer Nexus. We got plenty of racing coming forward, and we're going to be bringing back all the action here at the Pony Express. My name is Stephen Koenig, and for the final time of season 2, folks, say it with us. It is a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.